You made me nervous. I didn't have an operator.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there were people standing outside there and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna turn the lights on yet. Came in here. And then I just got busy working, so.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's February 11th, 2026 Board of County Commissioners meeting. We will call the meeting to order now. And the first item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us.
To the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Now we'll move to citizen input. I have a couple of blue forms here for public hearing items that are later in our agenda. But now would be the time for anyone who wants to speak on other items that are not public hearings today during our public comment period. Is there anyone in the room who would like to give public comment on an item that's not one of our public hearings? Kim, is there anyone online? Okay, seeing none, we can move on to commissioner announcements. Any commissioner announcements?
Well, I'm going to announce something very wonderful. I remember when Judge Crutchley did this wedding ceremonies, maybe right before COVID. But on this Friday, it actually happens to be the 13th of February, he's going to be conducting weddings for couple who wish to marry the day before Valentine's Day. So if you are interested in getting married, call 541-317-4772. And I just want to thank Judge Crutchley for offering this service again to our community. I actually went to it. I think it was maybe in 19, and it was really it was a wonderful day with people getting married. So thank you, Ray.
Yeah, a couple updates. So yesterday I was in Salem. It was a 120-year celebration for the Association of Oregon Counties, AOC. It was Counties Day at the Capitol, so it was well attended by about 50 or 60 county commissioners out of the 120, so almost half of us maybe. And it was well received. We were on the Senate floor for a resolution celebrating the 120 years. So a real positive event at the state capitol yesterday. I was able to meet with the governor, and I brought up the administrative overhead at the Oregon Health Authority. So Amelia Porterfield, our regional solutions person, was there with us, and the governor. So that was kind of the main topic I had brought. Spoke about Core 3 and the 97 corridor. That came up a couple times by the different commissioners that were at the table there, and other topics. Testifying, there was a lot of support for this 4121 bill for Core 3, so that has some money in there for future development. Last night, I was able to attend a town hall with the sheriff. He's making his way around the county, so it's a real positive environment. I'm just talking about, being the sheriff and making relationships with everybody. And then we can celebrate our EDCO lunch that was last Thursday. There's, 500-something people, I think, in the room.
750.
Well, there you go. We'll round up to 750. But the room was full, right? I mean, we were all there, and that was really exciting to see. People are really interested in, what's the next generation of economic development for Central Oregon. Tri-County people from all over the place attended that. So great event last Thursday.
Don't forget, one of the first things I said at that luncheon was that Oregon is 47th for business friendliness. So I think that is incredibly impactful. And, we hear about it every day, how hard it is to survive in Oregon as a business person.
Anything else, Commissioner? No? All right. I'll just share that I wasn't in Salem yesterday, but I was in Salem for the day on Monday. And myself and Commissioner Minty from Klamath County and Commissioner Taylor from Jefferson County made the rounds in the Capitol to talk to legislators about Highway 97 safety and the alarming number of severe and fatal crashes that we see on an annual basis on that road. We urged leaders in the various transportation committees of the legislature and members of the Central Oregon Caucus to focus in on this and start thinking about how even in this incredibly turbulent transportation funding environment we're experiencing right now, how to think about teeing up major safety investments for 97 in the coming years. Okay. Anything else? If not, then we can move on to our consent agenda.
I'll move approval of the consent agenda. I have not read the minutes, so if the other commissioners are comfortable with that, I'll review them as I sign them.
I'd actually like to pull item number 2.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And I support that then. So yeah, I'll move consent agenda by pulling item number 2.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, calling for a motion, or calling for a vote, sorry.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you. Okay, so back to item number, chair votes yes as well. So going back to item number 2, resolution number 2025-004, rescinding resolution number 90-081 regarding issuance of gate permits. Commissioner Adair, if you wanted to pull this item, do you want to
Right.
share your concerns?
We had actually, we had a Deschutes County resident that had put together a project and found a ruling, I believe from 1990, in order to have a gate. They'd had a lot of problems in that community while they were under construction, and they really felt like the gate was important. And it just said that because two of us did approve their gate application because it did fall within the parameters of that 1990 ruling. I just wanted to be sure. It said that proposition is still being drafted, and I didn't want there to be any problems for that project to be impacted because that hasn't been completed yet. So I wanted it in the record that it is, they are approved for their gate.
So, you wanted to emphasize the approval of that specific gate permit, but
Right, for Conquest Road.
but do you have ongoing concerns about the resolution before us today?
No, but it is interesting that in Deschutes County, we have all these local access roads, and yet the people that live on those roads have to take care of those roads because starting in 2006, Deschutes County got very frugal about taking any more roads into the system, and yet they're not allowed to put a gate on the road. It's a bit of a conflict, I believe. Okay, so we're going to have a new resolution. I can understand that, but I just wanted these people to be sure that they are able to get their gate because they definitely felt the need.
Yeah, if I'm recalling correctly, the discussion from a couple weeks ago, County Roads accepted the decision of the board to move forward with that specific gate, but asked for this resolution so that we could time out on considering additional gate permit applications until we can come up with a thoughtful policy that balances the public's needs in public roads and the landowners' needs along these kind of cul-de-sac or other kinds of local access roads that are small branches off the main tree. So with that, is there a motion?
I'll move approval of resolution 2026-004, rescinding a resolution from 1990.
Second it?
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion?
I'll just acknowledge, yeah, this is starting a process is basically what we're doing here. So I do support the fact that public roads are for public to traverse. We do have this situation in many areas in Deschutes County. This is going to be a sticky one because there's been asks for gates in the past, and it's usually just wanting to kind of block out a small little area. So of course, I leaned into this one. There was just a little bit of history that got to this point. But yeah, we're going to have a community discussion about where gates will possibly be allowed in the future. And it looks like it was an issue in the 90s, and it hasn't come up a lot in the last 10 years or so. But this could, yeah, it'll be an interesting discussion.
Mhm. Okay. With that, calling for the vote, Commissioner DeBonne,
Yes.
Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
and Chair votes yes. Okay, now we can move on to the action item, a portion of our agenda. Item number 7, a continued public hearing on a proposed amendment to Deschutes County Code to allow recreational vehicle RV parks as a conditional use in the Tumalo Commercial District. Audrey, come on up and join us. Are you going to address the whole, is this a legislative item or is this a quasi-judicial item in your introduction?
I have some sort of brief comments on that in my oral staff report.
Okay, so I'll leave that to you. And we'll just jump into the hearing proceedings. This is the time and place set for a continued hearing regarding file number 247-25-000105-TA. This is a hearing of a text amendment to Chapter 18.67 of Deschutes County Code to allow a recreational vehicle park as a conditional use in the Tumalo Commercial District. Staff will now outline the hearing procedures that will be followed. And I'm noting that when we get to the time parameters for different kinds of testimony, we should have, I should check in with my fellow commissioners on basically the number of minutes we want to allot to different things. So Audrey, when you get to that point, maybe we can take a pause and just check in.
Mr. Chair, just one item. So the memo following up this, it's a 106 TA, and the script might have said 105. So
Yeah,
just making
the
sure we
script
got the
says-
same number.
Sorry, do I need to rewind that?
Just acknowledging, making sure. Procedural.
No, sorry, 106 TA. The script had it
Thank you.
105. Go ahead, Audrey.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, my name's Audrey Stewart, and I'm an associate planner with the Deschutes County Planning Division. Today, the Board of County Commissioners will take testimony and receive written evidence concerning a text amendment to the Tumalo Commercial District. This is a continued hearing, and a public hearing was previously held before the board on October 22nd. The purpose of reopening the hearing is to clarify that this is following a legislative procedure. Anyone is able to testify at today's hearing, but comments that were previously submitted are still in the record and do not need to be repeated. Today's hearing will proceed as follows. First, staff will explain the hearing format and how to testify, followed by a brief presentation on the application. Then the testimony portion of the hearing will begin. The applicant will present first, followed by those in support, then those in opposition, and finally anyone neutral. And afterwards, the applicant will have a chance for rebuttal testimony. And lastly, staff may make closing comments. The time limits shown on the screen here were used at the previous board hearing. Would the board like to establish those same time limits today?
That's fine.
I support.
Do we, I mean, the applicant had 30 minutes at the last hearing to give their full presentation. Do we really want to do 30 minutes again?
Well, I think we're all in that same spot where we have gone through this, and the applicant will. I don't want to speak for the applicant. I'm supportive.
Okay. Works for me.
Thank you. This is a hybrid public hearing with both in-person and remote participation. Before starting your testimony, please provide your first and last name, as well as your mailing address. For our in-person participants, if you want to testify, please fill out a blue sign-up sheet and bring it up to the board's executive assistant. Chair Chang will call up in-person participants for their testimony. After your name is called, please come up to one of the tables at the front before beginning your testimony. For our remote participants, if you want to testify, you must be logged into Zoom or have called in using the Zoom dial-in option. When Chair Chang asks if anyone would like to testify, you'll need to use the raise hand feature to notify the board. To do this, you need to press the raise hand button on your computer, or if you've called in, dial *9. When it's your turn to provide testimony, you'll be promoted from an attendee to a panelist. You may experience a brief pause as your status changes. Once you have joined as a panelist, you'll be able to turn on your camera if you would like to. In addition to oral testimony, if anyone has written testimony to submit, please hand it to me. If you're in person, please give it to me after your oral testimony. If you're participating remotely, you can submit your written testimony via email to audrey.stewart@deschutes.org. The chair and staff are responsible for conducting an orderly hearing. Any testimony or behavior which is inappropriate will be addressed and may result in that member of the public being removed from the hearing. Prior to commencement of the hearing, any party may challenge the qualifications of any commissioner for conflict of interest. This challenge must be documented with specific reasons supported by facts. Should any commissioner be challenged, the member may disqualify himself or herself, withdraw from the hearing, or make a statement on the record of their capacity to hear and decide this issue.
All right. Well, I think it actually is important to talk about the ex parte versus quasi judicial aspects of this before we do declarations. We have been proceeding with this item as if it was a quasi judicial land use item, with significant restrictions on ex parte communications with constituents about the topic up until couple weeks ago, and now we are acknowledging or recognizing that this is also a legislative process, and legislative processes have, grant commissioners greater freedom to talk to people about the topic at hand. So, and as we make our disclosures here, I think we could. I'm going to comment, to that effect, on that aspect of this item. And I don't know if my fellow commissioners will, but now I will ask, does any commissioner have anything to disclose? And if so, please state the nature of same and whether you can proceed.
So I'll just say that, we did attempt, this is a legislative text amendment that we tried to put down the narrow path of quasi judicial. I did respect that. I had folks starting to call and say, hey, I heard somebody else is talking, so I want to talk. So we did go through that process, but there's no disclosures for conflicts of interest, other than just the scope of the items I've touched over the years.
As someone who's in Tumalo almost every day, other than that, I have nothing to disclose.
And I would say that since we've established that this is a legislative item, I have shared with some people basically my thoughts on pros and cons, and especially, and I'll do this in this room in a minute, just trying to clarify for people what is and isn't being decided with this application. But I've still within that, not really shared opinions with people about, my thoughts and leanings on this question. And so I have nothing to disclose either. Okay. Does any party wish to challenge any commissioner, member of this hearings body, based on conflicts of interest? Seeing none, the hearing is now open. Staff will proceed with a brief staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Today's hearing is a continued hearing. The purpose of reopening the public hearing and the written record was to clarify procedural questions. This application has qualities of both a quasi-judicial and a legislative process, and this hearing before the board is following legislative procedures. The applicant proposes amendments to Chapter 1867 of Deschutes County Code to allow an RV park as a conditional use in the Tumalo Commercial District. The applicant proposes siting standards, which would require an RV park to be sited on a lot or contiguous lots under common ownership, which abut Highway 20 and are 2.3 to 5 acres in size. The applicant also proposes to modify the wastewater and road access standards and proposes to establish quiet hours. These changes would only impact new RV parks in the Tumalo Commercial District and would not change the standards for RV parks in other zones. I want to reiterate that this proposal doesn't approve an RV park on a specific property. There's one property that would potentially be eligible under this code language. However, any future development would go through a property-specific review and require applications for a conditional use permit and site plan review. An initial hearing was held before a hearings officer, and his recommendation was issued on September 3rd. Because this involves an amendment to Deschutes County Code, it requires final action from the board. The board held a hearing on October 22nd, and since then, I've received 11 new public comments. The full record is available on the project webpage. There are several steps that the board may take at the conclusion of today's hearing, which I've outlined on this slide. Unless there are any questions or discussion from the board, I'll turn it over to the applicant for their presentation.
I would just like to share a few thoughts. Oftentimes people come and they have time to provide testimony, but they don't have time to stay for the deliberations that follow. So I just want to, again, clarify for everyone what is and isn't being decided with this application. This application is not, as you heard from Audrey, this is not we are not deciding an approval of an RV park proposal on a specific property. We are deciding today whether to change code to, basically ask the question, should an RV park be an eligible potential use on commercial zone property? If we move forward with that choice to change code, then for an RV park to be approved and to move forward on the specific property, there would need to be a conditional use permit application. And that is the opportunity for people to say, is an RV park a suitable and compatible use for this property, for this site, for this neighborhood? And a lot of the concerns that we've heard from people so far in the testimony, I think would be well targeted or, would be very suitable to hear during a conditional use permit application process. But that is not what we're doing right now. And just so people understand, this board, this county does reject conditional use permit applications, and say that they're not suitable or compatible with the neighborhood or the site on a regular basis. This specific property that we are talking about, with this process here, was the subject of a conditional use permit application just a few years ago for a retail marijuana dispensary. And that conditional use permit, at that stage, in the conditional use permit application stage, the application failed. So conditional use permit processes are real. I just want to, make sure that everyone understands that, it is a real process to understand suitability and compatibility. But that is not what we're doing today, or with the application before us right now. That would be a whole additional land use application process that happened later on. Okay. With that, I think we can go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Good morning, Commissioners. Adam Smith. I represent the applicant. I'm a land use attorney with Schwab Williamson Wyatt. My business address is 360 Southwest Bond Street, Suite 500, here in Bend, 97702. I'll get into my remarks in a minute, but I do want to just note two things. First, we've reiterated these comments, I think, every single hearing, but I'll do it again. We don't agree with the title or how this project's being presented is allowing allowing RV parks in the Tumalo Commercial District. I think that's confusing the public. RV parks are allowed. We're proposing to change the nature and how those RV parks are allowed, specifically converting a historic limitation to what we're describing as a geographic limitation. That's an important distinction we talked about at the last public hearing because that implies that RV parks are compatible in the zone. Otherwise, many years ago, decades ago, the county would have not allowed RV parks at all, and then any existing RV parks would have been treated as non-conforming uses. So that language in the title keeps persisting throughout these proceedings, and I think it's misleading and that needs to be clarified. I won't get into all the same details we talked about at the last public hearing, but the reason why the historic limit is in play in the Tumalo Commercial District is to copy and paste the same language that is governing some other districts in Deschutes County. The reasons for that are not applicable here. That's why we're proposing the change. Second, with quasi-judicial and legislative, I will address that later in my remarks and the importance of this hearing today. But I did just want to clarify one point. The hearing officer was the one who proposed that this needs to, at least after the hearing officer's proceedings, follow a legislative process. That's not something that we proposed. That's not something that we were advocating for. That's not something that we asked for. We were caught off guard by it, to be perfectly honest. We thought we were entitled to a decision, an actual decision from the hearing officer. And then final action from the board in this case would have just been approving the ordinance unless that decision was appealed. But because the hearing officer only issued a recommendation and then further noted that in his opinion, this needed to follow legislative proceedings from there, that's what gave birth to the initial public hearing, the need for the initial public hearing and the confusion. But I just wanted to clarify and put on the record that this dates back to the hearing officer's decision. It's well reasoned. I understand why he kind of came to that conclusion. I hope the commissioners have reviewed that decision. I would certainly encourage you to do so. But that was what gave birth to this confusion, nothing that the applicant put forward. As has been noted, the main purpose of this hearing is really to resolve this procedural formality. We already submitted all of our evidence to the record. We submitted all of our arguments. We submitted a final legal argument. We don't have anything more, frankly, that we need to add to build the substantial evidence as necessary to approve this application. We feel like we've done that and put a good faith effort into building that record. So instead, we'll use our time today to address any questions that the county commissioners have. And if they don't, then to address the public comments that have come in since the close of the record. As of this morning, there are 13. There were 10. Apparently 3 more came in. 13 public comments. I'm going to specifically walk through 2 of them and really address some of those issues. I don't have time to address all 13 point by point, but there's a lot of overlap. And frankly, these are the same arguments we've heard before. And so I'm addressing 2 of these comments really as a summary to try and really capture all these issues. And then significantly, I'm addressing the public comments because we want the public to feel heard. We were okay with doing this redo public hearing because we want the public to be heard. My client has owned property in the Tumalo area for decades. They consider themselves members of the Tumalo community. One way or the other, there's probably going to be increased development on some of these properties, and we want to be supportive of and not, offend any of the neighbors. And so I'm specifically spending time to walk through these issues because I want the public to be heard, to understand that we're hearing their concerns, and to identify how we're trying to address those concerns or to push back on some of them, frankly. So starting with a comment submitted by Sam and Caroline Davis on January 8th, I'm going to start with the procedural issue and really identify why it was so important that we all come back here today and to work through this. that comment letter on January 8th complains about the delay in the process and is frustrated that there's why didn't you deliberate and why is this being continued again? In so doing, Mr. Davis preserved this quasi-judicial versus legislative issue. We didn't have that comment letter. It was never given to us because the record was closed. But unknowingly, that issue was preserved. And if the county commissioners has gone forward and approved this application, I think we could have all been at risk of a trip to Luba. So rather than wasting all that time and energy on potentially a remand because of confusion on this issue, it's best to just take the time and to fix it now. It's also pretty notable that email, that Mr. Davis sent an email to the county commissioners on January 2nd, and then again on January 8th. Those emails were sent well after the record was closed on November 12th, and then a week prior to the county commissioners issuing an order approving this second public hearing. That again demonstrates that I think the public has been confused by these proceedings all along. The fact that there's so many emails still coming in when the record was closed either shows that members of the public have not understood the quasi-judicial nature that the county was trying to proceed under, or that they were sending communication to the county commissioners anyway. But again, fixing this issue, having the redo hearing, this is the way to make sure all of those comments are in the record to alleviate any procedural risk for all parties. And that's why it was so important for us to do this. Turning to some of the substantive arguments raised by Mr. Davis. As Commissioner Chang already pointed out, he's really challenging the text amendment versus CUP. And to quote, he argues that this text amendment effectively opens the door to RV park proposals and other high impact uses through future conditional use applications. As Commissioner Chang noted, conditional use permits are not easy. No RV park is currently being proposed. We've definitely done some preliminary work in response to public comments that we were trying to hide the ball, but we are not submitting, have not submitted an application, and it will probably be quite some time before any application is submitted, if ever. This is a text amendment. It's an exploratory process. It is not a conditional use permit. And effectively opening the door, at best, it cracks open the door. It by no means opens the door. CUPs are not easy, and CUPs are the right place to deal with a lot of the compatibility issues, as Commissioner Chang identified, that a lot of the neighbors are commenting on. Mr. Davis also mentioned other high impact uses. I think the only thing that could be speaking to is our proposed changes to the purpose statement in the Tumalo Commercial District. But the changes to the Tumalo Commercial District are just codifying existing decisions that the county's already issued, right? Like the county's issued decisions for the Tumalo Cider Company. This issue is even at play with the neighboring H2D2 application. And I will clarify that is on adjacent property. It is not on the same exact property. But this issue of the purpose statement in the Tumalo Commercial District has come up on plenty of past applications, and the county has consistently said, we're interpreting our purpose statement to allow these businesses to serve the traveling public as they're coming through Tumalo. So we're just proposing to codify those past decisions and to fix that issue so there's not any ambiguity in the code. That's not giving birth to these high impact uses. That's not opening the door to these high impact uses. The county's numerous past decisions approving these types of businesses already open the door to those high impact uses. Mr. Davis further comments that these types of proposals are fundamentally inconsistent with the Tumalo Community Plan, incompatible with existing traffic and street capacity, and out of character with Tumalo's rural small scale identity. Let's start with traffic. We have gone to great lengths we've had 3 submittals from our traffic engineer addressing this issue. That expert testimony in the record has specifically shown that the proposal is compatible with the existing traffic and street capacity. This is just a text amendment. Future CUP applications are going to have to take it a step further, but there is no valid legal reason to deny this application because of traffic concerns. Nobody wants increased traffic, but increased traffic and the risk of increased traffic doesn't mean that existing infrastructure can't handle that increased traffic. And this is a specific issue where, expert testimony should be carrying the day. Repeatedly, Oregon courts and LUBA have opined on traffic issues in particular that expert testimony is that. It's expert testimony it should be viewed as a substantial evidence in the record. Lay testimony doesn't really push back on that expert testimony on these traffic issues. Turning to the Tumalo Community Plan, our position is still that this proposal is 100% consistent with the Tumalo Community Plan. No opponent has cited or quoted any provision in the Tumalo Community Plan and suggested this is what we're offending. I frankly don't know how in the world we would. There's nothing in there that comes anywhere close to prohibiting this application. And in fact, there's several provisions in there that support this application. The county's recently adopted economic development goal for Tumalo. I'm quoting, retain the economic vibrancy of Tumalo's historic core and industrial areas while providing economic development opportunities that are compatible with the small town rural character of the community. To implement that goal, two policies of note. Policy number 3, allow residential uses and mixed residential commercial uses without inhibiting future commercial development opportunities in the commercial zoning district. That's important because there's been a lot of comments suggesting that adjacent commercial development is going to impact adjacent and nearby residences. Well, the county already has a policy that per the Tumalo Community Plan, that's not supposed to be a factor. We're supposed to be supporting business development in Tumalo without inhibiting, or the residential uses are not supposed to inhibit the commercial development within Tumalo. And then policy number 4, support economic development initiatives and tourism in the Tumalo area. Tourism in the Tumalo area. I mean, that goes back to the purpose statement. How in the world are we supporting tourism in the Tumalo area if we're not allowing businesses to serve the traveling public? And what type of business supports tourism more than an RV park? I mean, other lodging options, which the RV park clearly falls into. So rather than the Tumalo Community Plan negating or that our application offends the Tumalo Community Plan, the Tumalo Community Plan completely supports this. And then also returning to the theme of following your experts, right? We have expert testimony that we've submitted, but the county hired an expert. The county hired a hearing officer to vet this project, and the hearing officer dug into the Tumalo Community Plan as well, and specifically noted that there's nothing in the Tumalo Community Plan that is prohibited by this, that prohibits this application. We would certainly encourage you to defer to that hearing officer's decision. Now, turning to Dawn and Tom Lillis's comments submitted just earlier this week on February 8th, they raised a number of issues that I'm going to go through as quickly as I can, just respecting the time. You know, first they question why we're amending only provisions that govern the Tumalo Community District, the TUC, and not the countywide proposal. This is an applicant proposed text amendment. Trying to do something countywide on the applicant's dollar and resources would be very difficult. By all means, I'm sure the applicant would support the county looking at your code provisions that govern RV parks as a means to try and foster more RV park development throughout the county. But that's not what we're proposing. We're proposing to try and fix that issue, to address that problem in one district, because this is an applicant-initiated text amendment. Stated simply, the county identified the need for increased RV parks and identified part of that problem is state land use code provisions and Deschutes County code provisions. And we came up with a solution to address those problems to achieve that goal, at least for one of the districts. The Lillis is also comment on my past description of the Deschutes County code is requiring a gold standard. And again, that's part of the much bigger problem. For example, Deschutes County code requires that every RV stall in any RV park have electric, sewer, and water hookups. It also requires other amenities like laundry facilities. Those gold standard provisions are frustrating RV park development in your community. There's no doubt. It makes these projects much more expensive. Taking just the sewer issue, to have a sewer hookup for every single RV, many of which already have sewer capacity, sewer infrastructure on board, means that it's very difficult to do with a septic system. And centralized sewer is realistically required. That limits the number of areas where you're going to build RV parks. Because of that, we initially proposed before the hearings officer to change those gold standard provisions to not require sewer for every single RV stall until central sewer services came to the entirety of Tumalo. Because of the opposition from the community, we walked back that proposal. So we're not proposing to lower the gold standard, although we, frankly, the county commissioners maybe look at that because it is frustrating RV park development. We're not changing anything with this application. We walk that back, and any RV park developed on the Tumalo Commercial District will have sewer hookups on all the stalls, as required by the Deschutes County Code. They also commented on our proposed changes on arterial or collector streets. Now, the county code on this point can best be described as over-regulatory. We are using the requirement that you can only have an RV park access off of arterial or collector streets as a proxy for saying safe access to an RV park. That's negating and taking away the opportunity for any applicant to come in and say, well, this road is safe for RV park development. There's no inherent reason why you have to access an RV park from an arterial or collector street. It's just a proxy for safe, well-designed, all these issues, right? We worked with the county road department. They're specifically not opposed to this application. If Cody Smith had concerns with this application, he would be here testifying and expressing those concerns. Instead, we took the concerns as noted by Cody, or the justifications that Cody provided and why the arterial collector street requirement was in there, and it put those exact issues in the code. So we're not ignoring safety concerns. We're not ignoring engineering concerns. We are just fixing what is otherwise an over-regulatory provision. Again, it's limited to the Tumalo Commercial District. We would have no objection if the county wanted to look at doing something similar for the county as a whole. There are not that many arterial and collector roads, and frankly, that requirement, that over-regulatory requirement, is again frustrating RV park development throughout our community. Traffic studies. I already talked on traffic studies a little bit, but I did want to just comment on one point. The comment letter notes, and I'm quoting again, that personal firsthand anecdotal information from residents has more validity than any outsider study. Again, that's just not how land use works in Oregon. Expert testimony is needed to address expert issues, these nuanced issues like traffic. So no, personal firsthand anecdotal information does not overcome expert testimony in Oregon. There's good solid case law on that point. But I wanted to note the outsider comment. Our traffic engineer, as I'm sure the county commissioners know, is a Deschutes County resident. I would not consider him an outsider. In fact, the applicant and every principal working on this project is a Deschutes County resident. None of us are outsiders. None of us are not aware of Tumalo. We've all been there. We've all recreated in the river. We all understand these issues. None of us are outsiders looking to make a quick buck on the Tumalo community. And any suggestions to that effect are, I think, not supported by the record. Some quick comments on the H2D2 case. I already noted it's on adjacent property, but it's not apples to apples. This comment letter suggested that we're somehow flip-flopping on positions that my client took as part of that application or in opposition to that application in 2019. They're not comparing apples to apples. It's not the same thing at all. Part of the reason why the county denied that application was because that applicant was required to install a 24-foot wide driveway on the property and instead proposed only a 20-foot wide driveway on the property. The reason for denial was not concerned with the streets and roads in Tumalo. It was because of infrastructure on the project itself. It's also important to note that that project predated the new roundabout. The new roundabout is, without a doubt, the new roundabout and the sewer district are providing the base level incentives for higher economic development in Tumalo. So these kinds of projects are going to continue. So again, that H2D2 case is really not a great comparison. Nobody's flip-flopping from positions that were taken on that to this. But I will note, again, the relevance of that decision is really the county's interpretation of the purpose statement. The second reason that that application was denied is because it was proposing to deliver marijuana countywide, and the county commissioners decided that that was not consistent with the purpose statement. But they left open, and in fact, I think supported the idea that residents traveling through the Tumalo community, or excuse me, tourists traveling through the Tumalo community could receive services from businesses, that businesses could be open in Tumalo that are specifically designed to serve both the Tumalo community and or residents passing through the area. Again, that H2D2 decision is yet another reason why the county really should look at codifying those interpretations in the purpose statement. The rural nature of Tumalo. I just am struggling with the idea that RV parks negate a rural nature of any community where they are located. Suggesting that RV parks are urban frankly negates the hundreds of campgrounds on state and federal land all over Oregon. None of those state and federal campgrounds are urban. These are rural use. Nothing about an RV park converts, otherwise frustrates the rural nature of a community. You know, closer to home, Tumalo State Park just down the road is clearly not an urban use. If so, it wouldn't be allowed in that location. And frankly, I don't think Tumalo State Park is frustrating the Tumalo's rural nature. So why would this RV park frustrate the rural nature? The comment letter also comments on the right to peaceful enjoyment. We are not disregarding the adjacent residential properties' right to peaceful enjoyment. We have bent over backwards to try and accommodate their concerns. Most of what I'm talking about today is trying to identify that we're hearing them and we're working with them. Most of that will be addressed through a conditional use permit, but it is important to point out that's an adjacent residential zone next to a commercial zone. Right, that we're not proposing to rezone this property to commercial. It is zone commercial. So any concerns about, you know, an RV park is going to impact or the right to peaceful enjoyment of the adjacent residential property would apply to any level of commercial development. And as we documented, at least from the traffic perspective, you can definitely propose existing uses on this property that would impact the adjacent residential properties far greater than an RV park. And then there's access to the Deschutes River. There's been a lot of comments that this RV park shouldn't be approved because it's going to allow all these residents, or excuse me, all these visitors to get access to the Deschutes River. I would note that the Deschutes River and Deschutes National Forest, these are undeniable benefits to all county residents and visitors alike, not the select few who live next to these features. That's why the people are coming to our community. That's why so many tourists want to come here to recreate in the Deschutes River, to go to the Deschutes National Forest. Certainly, there are concerns with overuse. This application is trying to address overuse of the Deschutes National Forest. But the way to address the overuse is to address the impact directly, not to say no to these land use developments. I mean, if we took that argument to its logical extreme, we wouldn't allow any new use, any new development at all in Deschutes County, right? Because all of it could bring more tourists in, and those tourists may recreate on the Deschutes National Forest. We're hurting our many. I mean, if we do that, it's cutting off our nose to spite our face. Our economy is still significantly driven by tourism. Last issue that I want to address is transient lodging. This idea that an RV park is going to become a homeless camp. I'll be quick. I see the red light is blinking, but this is an important point. If for no other reason, I suspect that this issue is what has engendered most of the opposition to this application all along. To be clear, we are not immune to or ignoring the substantial issues that our unhoused or underhoused community members are facing. But this application has never been and never can address those issues. The Deschutes County Code requires a maximum of 30-day stay at any RV park in the county. And then as noted, the gold standard, all these amenities that have to be provided make these developments more expensive and make the RV parks itself more expensive. Are they cheaper than a VRBO and a hotel? Yes, absolutely. But they're still expensive. This is not the option that's going to address the underhoused members of our community. But what it will address are the numerous visitors who come to Deschutes County and can't afford a VRBO or a hotel, and that are bringing their camper vans, that are bringing their RV parks. Camper vans and RV parks are a lower cost recreational option for so many families across America. And they come to Deschutes County now, and they can't find places to stay, and so they end up dispersed camping on Deschutes National Forest. That's what this application is designed to address. We're following our lead on addressing that from the county's own report. The county identified this issue. The county identified the impacts of the Deschutes National Forest, and we're trying to solve that problem for the county, at least in one small isolated part of the county. That's the only thing that is motivating this application. By no means is this going to ever be converted into a transient camp, because you can't. You simply can't, and the economics don't bear that out. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, or I'll save any additional remarks for rebuttal.
I'd just like to acknowledge the, very beginning statement that RV parks are a conditional use in the Tumalo district, commercial district already. So under item number C8, it talked about RV parks, recreational vehicles, recreational vehicle park. So thank you for pointing out that at the very beginning. So this kind of restructures that code, but it has been in there. It always was in there.
And that, again, is a very important distinction, because the
Yeah.
county and planning lore and land use law, the county made the decision that RV parks are compatible generally, but on a site-specific basis, they need additional consideration. That's the classic distinction between a use allowed outright or a conditional use. If the county did not believe that RV parks were compatible in this zone, then those existing RV parks would have been regulated as non-conforming uses. All we're changing is the nature in which RV parks are allowed, not the idea of RV parks being allowed. Just thank you,
Yeah.
but I'm.
Well, I know. I mean, you started off with that today.
Yeah.
Any further comments or questions?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay. So now we will start to take public testimony. First, we'll have persons testifying in support. Then we'll have persons testifying in opposition. I have, and for anyone who is in the room who wants to testify, if you haven't given us a blue form yet, please go ahead and grab one and bring it on up. Okay. Looks like the two blue forms we have are in opposition. Is there anyone else in the room who is interested in testifying in support? Is there? So do we usually go to online in support before we go to in opposition?
Yes.
Okay. Kim, is there anyone online with their hand raised? Okay. So we will move on to people testifying in opposition. I have Linda Barbaro and then Carl Finley. And you can both come on up, and there's 3 seats. Did I see another blue form making its way to the front here? Okay. Linda? Go ahead.
My name is Linda Barbaro. I live at 64705 Simon Road in Bend, which is in Tumalo. I think RV parks are fine, but I don't believe that they belong next door to established neighborhoods of single-family homes. And I know that this address, I have addressed this myself before, but I just really want to remind folks, I don't know where you live exactly, but would you like to have an RV park literally next door to you? I think that the expert testimony, and I put that in quotes, is kind of a joke, because of course there will be an impact on traffic in Tumalo if there's an RV park. And another fear that I have is that after a few years, I think that the owner may cite the housing shortage and want to turn it into permanent housing for residents. And I think that would be a negative impact on the community of Tumalo. I do request that the board members, before they make a final decision, if they haven't already, would be to go there and visit the sites that might be approved for an RV park and look around the neighborhood and and then have that be part of the decision-making process. I just really don't feel that it is the appropriate use of the property in the Tumalo Commercial District.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Chair Chang, members of the commission, for the record, my name is Carl Findling, 64465 Research Road, Bend, Oregon, which is Tumalo. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on this contentious issue. I've had to amend this a few times based on watching previous online meetings, hearings on this, being that it seemed to be confusing to everybody, not just the commission members, as to whether this was judicial or whether this is a legislative process. After hearing this fine lady's testimony and the applicant's attorney, now I feel like I can go through my initial and original letter as submitted versus the edits I just produced. So with that, you may stop me at any time if I am off base. My wife, myself, and family members are vehemently opposed to the proposal in the amendment code change allowing conditional use permit necessary for the approval of 24725-106 TA. I'm not really completely sure how to address this again, as I said, but my concerns are the already congested de facto business district of Tumalo is not capable of handling numerous lengthy tow vehicles at times exceeding 50 feet, with little to no traffic enforcement from the Deschutes County Sheriff's and peak time traffic congestion. I'm there 4 times a day. I see it, especially in the summer season. Tumalo is unique. It is not a Sisters, a Lapine, or Terrebonne. The small community has plenty of non-standard street designs incapable of handling the turning radiuses of these vehicles and through traffic of large construction vehicles, which are in the dozens per day, to and from Knife River and Latham's Pits nearby. Summer tourism vehicles, congested highway traffic through the Tumalo roundabout, and traffic backups through the small community would be very problematic, adding more large, slow-moving RVs south of the Tumalo roundabout, and this will force large tow vehicles to travel through residential streets and exit the proposed park through the center of this community. I clean up the highway section, a 1-mile stretch through Tumalo I have for a number of years, and I see the traffic speeds that are on Highway 20 and the litter, of course, that I pick up. While groundwater and sewage is a major issue in Tumalo, the current septic system is at best a poor example of being capable of handling another couple dozen if proposed in a future addition, and more occupants daily add to the long-term and only septic system capable of handling increased user would be a legitimate sewer system for the rural community. The aesthetic eyesore of a proposed park would degrade from the rural nature of our community. This is simply not needed, would not benefit our community, but perhaps very few persons, and specifically the owner. As part of the Greater Bend tourism destination, the Tumalo community risks being taken advantage of, and with limited services for potential park guests, it's more of a burden on the small community than a benefit by far. And once approved, there's no going back. This is the wrong place and wrong time for such an amendment change to the code for the TUC. In summary, CUP should be examined on a case-by-case basis where infrastructure and incompatibilities exist. Cultural compatibility is different than an economic vision or goal, and site-specific criteria should be seriously considered in this case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Any
Carl.
questions?
And, I would again clarify that this is not a conditional use permit application at this point. So many of the concerns that you raised would be very appropriate in that kind of a setting.
Absolutely, and I'm just addressing what the applicant's attorney addressed as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carl. Thank you, Linda.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to testify in opposition? Kim, is there anyone online with their hand raised? Okay. Now we can move on to what?
There we go.
Okay. Dawn, please join us. We're ready when you are, so you can unmute yourself and provide us with comment. Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in today, Dawn. All right. At this point, we will go to applicant rebuttal, and then we will have staff closing comments.
I'll be very brief. I don't think there's any need to address the comments point by point. I just wanted to note one thing is my client is again pointing out, you can already use this property for much more intensive uses. It is again already designed as a commercial district. You can have a lot more homes on there and turn every single home into a short-term rental. So we need to keep in context what is being proposed. And with that in mind, I want to return to a comment from Commissioner Adair from the EDCO meeting that Oregon is 47th in business friendly, and then take that idea and connect it to the county's own study that you commissioned and spent good money looking at RV parks. Part of the problem that the county identified frustrating RV park development, the business of RV park development in Deschutes County are these land use code provisions. Land use is, look, I'm a believer. That's why I do what I do for a living. But certainly land use can frustrate economic development and business opportunities. So with that perspective in mind, let's keep in mind what we're proposing. We're proposing to change the nature in which RV parks are allowed in an existing commercial zone. It's in response to the county's own study, identifying the need for additional RV parks to support our economy, which is still primarily based on tourism, and to cut down on dispersed camping on Deschutes National Forest. As has been noted many times, this is not a CUP. This is not a zone change proposing to use this property for commercial. It's already zoned for commercial uses. That's exactly why several business owners in Tumalo have submitted letters to the record supporting this application. They see what we're going through. They're concerned about their own business expansions or issues.
Could you cite those, please?
What's that?
Could you cite those business owners?
I believe we have 3 letters. There's one signing on to a statement from the current leasee of the property, the Bite and Tumalo Cider. So we have 3 asks. Close the record. Deliberate today. You were prepared to deliberate a couple months ago. So we would certainly be self-interested in wrapping this up, and I don't think anything new has been set forward today. So we would encourage the county commissioners to close the record and deliberate today. And then, of course, follow the hearing officer's recommendation and approve the submitted text amendment.
Adam, I do have one question. Sewer and septic capacity was raised, and I'm pretty sure that this code change would require that adequate wastewater treatment capacity was in place before we could even consider a conditional use application. Can you unpack that for me a little bit?
Yes, that is 100% correct. Again, as I noted in my initial remarks, our hope initially was to get an RV park started without doing sewer connections for every stall. We were going to put the pipes in the ground, but not connect them to anything. And then when central sewer services became available, we can connect those pipes at a later date. As you know, most RVs, I would say, have onboard infrastructure for handling sewer. There's dump stations down the road in Bend. So that was our initial proposal. But there was pushback from the community, and so we pivoted and took out any of those options from the code and instead clarified that any RV park in the Tumalo Commercial District would need to connect to central sewer preferred services. The hearing officer tweaked the language that we proposed, and so the language that's in front of the county commissioners is actually drafted by the hearing officer to address that concern. So as a precondition, a prerequisite to any RV park being developed on this project, either the sewer district that's across the highway would need to find a way to expand to my client's property, assuming, of course, that my client is seeking to build an RV park on his property, or the sewer district in Tumalo would need to get up and running. I don't think economically or with the code language in place, there's any way to do it. There's no practical way to serve every single RV stall on a property with an onboard or an on-site septic system based on the limitations that are in Tumalo currently.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Further questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you, Ann. Okay. Audrey, would you like to join us again? Do you have any closing comments, and would you like to walk us through what our next steps are?
Thank you. I don't have any specific closing comments, but I will walk through the potential next steps that the board can take. This would be continue the hearing to a date and time certain, close the oral portion of the hearing and leave the written record open to a date and time certain, close the hearing and schedule deliberations for a date and time to be determined, or close the hearing and commence deliberations. And I do want to note a deliberations matrix was prepared for the January 7th meeting that the board was originally scheduled to hold deliberations. If the board did decide to hold deliberations now, immediately after this hearing, I would work off of that same January 7th deliberations matrix. And I do want to note that it wasn't included in the meeting packet for today.
And I have mine.
And so that would be a question to the board if you would like to hold deliberations today.
Well, comment wise, I think we have worked through the curing the record procedural issue by opening this up again. So now I'm comfortable closing it. We have heard from, multiple people and community members, parties, both sides. So I do support closing the record at this time. I didn't bring the matrix down, but I know right where it is in my office if I want to go get that. So we'll see where we go.
And I'd be happy to close the hearing now and proceed to deliberations. I also have the matrix up in my office.
If it's amenable to the board, we could do a quick 10-minute break and I can get some additional copies for anyone who would like one before we begin deliberation.
Yeah, for anybody.
I bet I could get to my office and back in 5 minutes.
Well, but you're saying offer to anybody else in the room that may want to see the matrix
Okay.
also.
Okay. Commissioner Dare, thoughts on?
No, I have my matrix. I'm ready.
So you're ready to proceed for deliberations at this time?
Sure. I mean, if you
Yeah.
need 5 minutes to run upstairs, that'd be great.
Okay, let's do that. I support that.
Right. Well, anyone who is joining us for this item and wants to watch deliberations, please stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. 10 minutes would be what? 10:18.
Here, got another copy too. It was ready.
All right, so we're commencing deliberations. Audrey, would you like to lead us through the decision matrix?
Thank you. And if anyone in the audience would like a copy of the decision matrix, there are some extras on the table over there. I will just sort of walk through these issue areas that are outlined in the matrix. At the end of each issue area, I'll pause to have the board take a vote or provide any comments or questions. The first is, did the applicant adequately address all relevant Deschutes County comprehensive plan policies, statewide planning goals, and legal and technical arguments? The hearings officer recommendation was based on the evidence in the record. The hearings officer found that the proposal complies with all applicable county provisions and state statute. The hearings officer noted that the majority of comments received in opposition were not directed at specific approval criteria. Furthermore, the hearings officer did not identify any applicable goals and policies beyond those identified in the application materials and the staff report. The hearings officer found there was no technical or legal reasons to deny the application. Oppositional comments state that an RV park is inconsistent with the rural nature and intended purpose of the Tumalo Commercial District. Though most comments were not directed at specific approval criteria, concerns included impacts to natural resources such as the Deschutes River, as well as impacts to neighborhood livability. Oppositional comments question the local economic benefits of permitting RV parks, as well as the impacts to water and wastewater systems. The applicant notes that Deschutes County Code 1867040C8 currently allows for the use and expansion of an RV park that existed as of June 12, 1996, which indicates that they are compatible with the TUC zone. The application materials note existing and potential commercial uses within the TUC zone, which could have greater adverse impacts than an RV park. The applicant also notes that the proposed amendment to the purpose statement of the TUC zone is consistent with OAR 660-022-0030-4C and will provide better clarity regarding permitted uses, as well as more economic opportunities within Tumalo. The applicant modified their proposal to address concerns regarding environmental and health risks. Under the currently proposed language, each RV space would be required to be connected to a central sewer system. Staff reiterates that this application is solely an amendment to Chapter 1867 of Deschutes County Code. It doesn't approve or deny a specific RV park on any parcel. The applicant provided a site plan and renderings for illustrative purposes only, and future development would require a conditional use permit and site plan review. So now the question for the board is, does the board agree with the hearings officer's findings related to the comprehensive plan policies and statewide planning goals, along with the findings related to the legal and technical arguments raised in the record? If yes, the board may continue reviewing the application and move to the next issue area. If no, the board may review issue areas number 3 to 4 and determine whether they are met. And just some explanation for the board. The way I structured this is the board could, at the outset, agree that there are no legal or technical reasons to deny this application and move to just to issue area 2 next. Or if the board finds that this does need further analysis, issue areas 3 to 4 dive deeper into legal and technical reasons. So the board could find that this is met and decide not to even address issue areas 3 and 4 based on your first decision.
So just acknowledging the matrix, thank you very much. Very deep and kind of analysis about what the issues of this topic are. And this matrix was created before this legislative hearing, kind of, curing the procedural possibility of an issue here. Yeah, this does go kind of deep into intricacies of how to think about this topic. I support proceeding. I don't see anything that stops it hard here. Tumalo Commercial District in the previous code did talk about this as a conditional use. And yes, there's, issues, social issues to talk about here, but technically it can proceed.
Okay, I do agree with the hearings officer's findings, but I also think that it would be valuable to unpack a little bit more about the traffic questions and the compatibility with the Tumalo Community Plan questions. So, I, I, I'm not quite sure where to weigh in on this because I don't want to just go to area 2 and then skip areas 3 and 4. I think it's worthwhile to talk about those, just so that people understand that constituents understand that we've heard their concerns and we've dug into them.
And certainly, and so just, I guess, for background, the way why this is structured a little uniquely, I would say there's 2 kind of decision points or areas. One is technical and legal reasons, and the other would be policy reasons. And so the way this is up, if it wants to dive more into that technical and legal reasons, then I can move to areas 3 and 4 that talk about conformance with the Tumalo Community Plan as well as traffic impacts. Or the board could find that there agree with the hearings officer, there are no technical or legal reasons to deny this application, and then just move into the policy discussion.
I want to discuss 3 and 4.
Okay.
I mean, how many people in the community came and talked about this?
Yeah.
Whatever we have in our plan and what the people in Tumalo think are clearly, they're 2 different things. And as someone who drives there, I can't wait to say some comments about the traffic study. I might not be an expert, but I did drive 79,000 miles, and I do drive in Tumalo a lot. And it's definitely, it doesn't meet what they're saying, the experts.
So does that sound all right? We'll go from here to topics 3 and 4 and then circle back to 2.
So now moving on, issue area 3 is regarding traffic impacts. Has the applicant demonstrated compliance with transportation planning rule in OAR 660-012? The hearings officer found the applicant had demonstrated compliance with the transportation planning rule as outlined in OAR 660-012-0060 and statewide planning goal 12. The hearings officer noted that many of the comments regarding traffic impacts and safety concerns were speculative and did not refute the analysis provided by the applicant's traffic engineer. Opponent comments state traffic impacts will negatively impact local residents, and there are existing concerns regarding pedestrian safety and road capacity within Tumalo. Comments cite existing issues such as the lack of a complete sidewalk network, and note that access to the subject site would require RV traffic on residential streets. Comments also state that an exception to 18-128-170 should not be granted due to the narrow local roads within Tumalo. The application materials included a transportation memo dated January 8th, 2025, prepared by a professional traffic engineer. The applicant provided an addendum dated October 28th that responded to concerns regarding the ability of large vehicles and trailers to maneuver on surrounding roads. The applicant's materials note that the Tumalo Commercial District allows for a range of commercial uses, which could have significantly greater traffic impacts than an RV park. The Deschutes County Transportation Planner submitted comments on April 4th, which agree with the methodology and conclusions of the applicant's memorandum. These comments note that additional site-specific information may be required at the time of a specific development proposal in order to address Section 18-116-310 of Deschutes County Code. And so the question for the board is, has the applicant demonstrated compliance with transportation planning rule?
To the question of compliance with the transportation planning rule, I would like to get to that in a minute. But Audrey, can you just unpack for us a little bit more this question about arterial and collector roads and RV parks in other parts of the county?
Certainly. So right now we have countywide standards for new RV parks, and they are conditional use standards in 18128 of Deschutes County Code. And right now, to site a new RV park, you have to take access from an arterial or a collector road. And so those are designations for higher traffic roads. Part of this proposal is specifically for the Tumalo Commercial District. It essentially waives that requirement, so you could have a new RV park that's accessed by a local access road.
Thank you.
I just want to talk about the fact that I actually walk across, I believe it's Cook Avenue, and you take your life in your own hands. To bring a story up from Sisters Friday afternoon, I stopped and talked to a couple of our sheriffs. It was like 60 degrees, a beautiful day. They're talking to all kinds of people in the community. And then later that evening, an 81-year-old woman was hit and killed crossing, the main road at Sisters. Now, I just know that you have to be so careful when you are walking across that street in Tumalo. It's incredibly busy. A lot of time of the year, a lot of people go to the bite. There's normally not any parking. I don't know when they went in and did their evaluation, but I'm there, like I'd say like 5-6 days a week when I drive through. And usually I see that parking is an issue. You always wonder, okay, where am I going to get to park today? And anyhow, the fact that there is a busy stream of traffic and, I just think it was such a tragedy. It just shows you what our sheriffs have, at one minute they're engaging with the community and the next minute they're dealing with someone who had just been hit as a pedestrian. So all I know is it's an incredibly busy area. And I just feel like, no, the traffic is not adequate for this community. And that's from my personal experience. And I will agree, I'm not an expert. I just do a lot of driving, and I see what Tumalo is like. I mean, it's a lovely, vibrant community. How many people cared about this project that came in and testified or sent emails? We heard from so many people that live there. They were incredibly engaged.
Well, a comment is, the technical process is fulfilled here. I do see that this isn't a conditional use permit. This is the code change. So the TPR and the memo that came with this do support this concept. Going down the path of what's there now and what could there be in the future. This, especially if there's a sewer improvements that would come, so this is speaking about an application again in the future state. Obviously there'd be improvements for pedestrian safety and traffic flow.
I just want to say that if we're concerned about traffic and safety concerns in the main portion of Tumalo, I would be a lot more concerned about the development of the Thornburg Destination Resort than I would be about the development of this RV park, where I would guess that anyone who was going to the bite would be parking in the RV park and walking 2 blocks to get to the bite. But that's just a side comment. So I believe that the applicant demonstrated compliance with a transportation planning rule.
And to clarify, I heard 1 for no. It sounded like 1 yes and potential 1 yes. Could I
I
just
support, yes.
Okay, thank you. Unless
I want to put it into the record. Thornburg was approved, I believe, originally in 2006. We weren't the people that approved it originally. It's had, 85 appeals, reversals. It was approved many decades ago in Deschutes County. So just put that into the minutes too.
Yeah, but during the time that I've been on this Board of Commissioners, we have reaffirmed, or majority of the board, not myself included, reaffirmed the master plan for Thornburg and approved a brand new fish and wildlife mitigation plan that allows development to proceed.
That's right. And they have cut back on golf courses. They've reformatted their course. Yes. And do a lot of people come to Deschutes County to play golf? Yes, they do. So
Leave it at that.
Unless there's additional sort of questions or discussion on that, I'll move on to issue area 4. And so this is the proposal consistent with the Tumalo Community Plan? The hearings officer found that allowing RV parks in limited circumstances is consistent with the community plan and will depend on the fact-specific proposal. The hearings officer provides findings specific to the economic development goal and corresponding policies 4 and 5. The hearings officer responded to general claims that an RV park is incompatible with small-town rural character by noting that RV parks exist in rural areas, but found that many oppositional comments did not provide enough specificity to address the plan's policies. Opponents state the recent Tumalo Community Plan update captured residents' desire to maintain the small-town character of Tumalo, and an RV park does not align with that goal. Opponents state the proposed amendment to DCC 1867040, the purpose statement of the Tumalo Commercial District, does not align with the community vision statement or goals of the plan. Oppositional comments raise concerns regarding the number of transient guests an RV park would bring to the community and whether it would degrade existing small-town character or strain public services. The applicant states the proposed amendments are consistent with the Tumalo Community Plan and cites, among others, Economic Development Policy Number 4, which is, quote, support economic development initiatives and tourism in the Tumalo area. The applicant states the community plan does not expressly prohibit or limit RV park development. The plan's language is intentionally broad, and the community vision is implemented through section or chapter 1867 of Deschutes County Code. The applicant notes the existence of rural RV parks, including the nearby Tumalo State Park, to rebut the argument that RV parks are inherently an urban use. Staff found the proposal complies with the Tumalo Community Plan, but the question for the board here is this proposal consistent with the Tumalo Community Plan? If yes, the board may continue reviewing the application. If no, the board may determine that the Tumalo Community Plan goals and policies are significant factors to be considered and may be treated as applicable approval criteria.
Audrey, could I ask you to remind me where we landed with the Tumalo Community Plan in terms of the size of multifamily housing units allowed per property? I believe
our planning manager. I know that currently there's no hard limit for multifamily. Permitted outright allows up to a duplex in residential zones. I'm getting the answer.
Quadplex. Yeah. So fourplexes are permitted outright.
Subject to site plan review and a
Subject
conditional
to
use permit.
Okay. So theoretically, this property could be chunked up into quadplex properties and development, and then rented out as short-term rentals, which I believe would probably have about the equivalent impact in terms of the number of, transient lodging visitors that an RV park would. So the Tumalo Community Plan specifically grappled with that multifamily housing question and arrived at this point. So if we're asking, well, does a bunch of quadplexes or does an RV park put more tourists into the core of Tumalo, I would say I think it's probably a wash. So that the concerns about consistency with the Tumalo Community Plan, I'm not finding compelling. So I would say that the proposal is consistent with the Tumalo Community Plan.
I would come to that conclusion also. This is private property that's in the Tumalo community and footprint. Tumalo Community Plan is a partnership of everybody that's in there, as well as us as elected officials and everybody in the community. So this is, a precise path that's being requested to be created for a future conditional use request. It could utilize that property in some fashion. So I do see it as being compatible.
Yeah. I mean, I make that point, and I also, I think it begs the question for the people of Deschutes County, whether we want to control in some way short-term rentals in our community. Right now, we have a few thousand short-term rentals in the unincorporated county, and we don't have any restrictions that would prevent someone from jamming a whole bunch more into Tumalo. There are a significant number of short-term rentals in Tumalo already.
I'm going to be consistent. I'm voting no.
And unless there's any other discussion, I'll move on. But first, I'll pause to see if there's questions or discussion on that one. Okay. Hearing none, I'm moving on to issue area number 2. So this is jumping back over to that more sort of policy consideration side. So are there policy reasons to approve the proposed amendments? The hearings officer evaluated applicable approval criteria, but did not provide a policy recommendation. Opponents state that negative impacts of an RV park would disproportionately burden local residents. An RV park would not provide economic benefit to surrounding property owners, and that the livability and natural resources of Tumalo could be degraded by the increased number of short-term visitors. The applicant states there's a documented shortage of RV parks and campgrounds within Deschutes County. Providing approved RV parks may minimize the negative impacts associated with dispersed camping on public land, and that tourism provides economic development for Deschutes County. Again, staff reiterates the subject application is only a text amendment to Chapter 1867 of Deschutes County Code. The proposed amendment does not approve or deny a specific RV park on any parcel. The majority of the oppositional comments are more relevant to later stages of review, such as the conditional use permit and site plan review approval, if the text amendment is approved and the owner desires to move forward with development. The board may choose to provide additional policy reasons to approve or deny the amendments, in addition to those listed here. So does the board choose to make policy determinations relating to the proposed amendments? If yes, the board may approve or deny the application based on policy reasons listed here or provide their own. And if no, the board does not need to adopt policy reasons to approve or deny the application.
So, as mentioned, make sure as decision makers in this that we have a feel for it. Since we opened that record wide open, I have driven through here. I've walked these neighborhoods previously, years ago, just making connections to voters in the area. I do have a feel for what's going on. There's improvements that will be discussed, I'm sure, in a future state for a conditional use application if this gets passed. But as I say, I don't see a policy determination to stop this at this time.
Yeah, I would make similar comments. While it is very possible during a conditional use permit application process, neighbors would raise site-specific, neighborhood-specific concerns that are, very important and legitimate to consider. At the policy level, I don't see any reason to block this code change at this time.
Okay, so you have your 2 people voting for it.
That was the last of my issue areas in this matrix, but again, I'll pause to see if there's any other comments or questions from the board.
So yeah, if we're working towards a final decision here, I mean, these are interesting times. Some people just want it to stop, slow down, let's not grow anymore. Being in a spot like this, a future opportunity on private property to be able to provide these services to create a revenue source on property ownership is a scenario that I don't oppose. So I mean, it kind of gets me to this. But as I say, these are challenging times. We've got growth and a very tight land use system. Other topics are starting to hang off of this as we're even debating just a specific topic. But yeah, I mean, I support proceeding.
Yeah. Again, I absolutely think that neighbors could bring to a conditional use permit application process important concerns about the suitability or compatibility of this use, this application that would come later after wastewater infrastructure is in place. But if at the higher level, the question we're asking here is, should an RV park be a potentially eligible use of land in a commercial zone? I have to say, I think that that's appropriate to consider. Yeah, but just, again, want to flag for people that a conditional use application process is going to be a very different matter. And that is an entirely appropriate time for people to bring forward site and neighborhood suitability and compatibility concerns.
And what I said about crossing the street, I really meant it. In today's world, because you drive right down that street and then you get on the roundabout. So there's no stop sign. There's no stop there. People need to be really way more careful everywhere in the county than, it was a tragedy last Friday night. So please, I'm telling myself, you better be more careful. You never know when someone, is not paying any attention.
Well, as I say, I saw the sheriff last night at his town hall, and he's real proud that he's got a balanced 11-person plus 2 sergeants on every patrol shift right now, and they're really able to do some more traffic management control and community outreach. So we're kind of on the upswing in the sheriff's office, and he has made traffic a priority recently.
And it's, if we have concerns, particularly about pedestrian or cyclist safety on the streets in Tumalo, these are things that we can be raising at county roads to think about, where it's appropriate to create, high visibility designated crossing sites. It's true, people can't just cross the street at the Bight anywhere. They should be crossing at an intersection. And if it's necessary to kind of protect and define and sign and patrol intersections to keep people safe, then that is certainly something that our road department should be thinking about as our community grows.
So for the record, I'll make a motion of support, and then there'll be follow-up.
Correct. So I would return to the board with draft findings and an ordinance, but I would look to the board today for a motion and a vote to either approve or deny this application.
So I'll move approval of this text amendment proposal for file number 247-25106 TA, Tumalo Community District, Commercial District.
And I can second that. Is there any further discussion? If not, calling for the vote. Commissioner DeBonne,
Yes.
Commissioner Adair,
No.
and chair votes yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. We're a little off schedule, but thanks for everyone who is here for the next public hearing for sticking with us. Item number 8, a public hearing on residential commingled recycling collection service and rate adjustments for Wilderness Garbage and Recycling, Bend Garbage and Recycling, and High Country Disposal. Tim.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Tim Brownell. I'm the Director of the Solid Waste Department here in the county. And this item before you is, as stated, a public hearing for the potential expansion of commingled recycling collection in the remaining portion of the county serviced by Republic Services. The proposal is to expand commingled recycling collection curbside to the distant rural portion of the county that does not have that service. Would you like me to give you a summary of the proposal prior to public hearing, or would you like to go into public hearing itself?
Why don't you give us a summary in advance?
Okay. So the service that we're talking about in Deschutes County, we currently have a curbside collection of commingled recycling. We do not have curbside collection of glass. That is offered within the cities of Redmond, Sisters, and Bend, but that is not part of the service. So the glass service is not part of this proposal. It would just be the blue cart commingled recycling stream of materials. In addition to our curbside collection system, we do have a series of recycling drop-off stations throughout the county at all of the transfer stations, as well as a couple other locations. City of Sisters has a recycling drop-off station. The city of Lapine has a recycling drop-off station. But those are primarily the only locations, if you don't have recycling service, that you would take your recyclables to. In our solid waste management plan, the county, the adopted recommendation was that when practical, we would offer the services. So that's why we're bringing this forward. It does need to be approved by the board if we're going to expand it, and whether this is practical or not. Since this adoption of the solid waste management plan, we have expanded curbside collection to one section of the distant rural, which was under Cascade Disposal's franchise agreement. That is the Sun River community with approximately 4,000 households. Approximately 25% of those are permanent residents, and the rest are serviced through their occupancy during vacations, et cetera. That constituted almost the entire area of distant rural for Cascade Disposal under their franchise agreement. That's why this proposal coming to you is particularly for the Republic Services Distant Rural Service District. Under the county system, we provide what is called universal service, meaning whatever service is offered within the service district, all of those services are bundled within the rate. There is not a menu where you can opt to have one service at one price and add additional service for an additional price. If you remember, about a year and a half ago, we came forward to you with the potential of looking at offering subscription service for those who wanted recycling in the distant rural area. We were informed by the Department of Environmental Quality that that is not permitted under state statute or under state law, that we have to, if recycling service is offered, it has to be provided at the same cost as garbage service. So we cannot have a cafeteria style plan for our services in the state. We do not require mandatory service, meaning that everybody has to have garbage service in the county. We offer universal service, meaning you can have it. And if you have it, all of the services offered within that service district are available to you at one cost. Since 2024, I believe it was, Sun River, when they converted to curbside recycling, or side yard recycling service as they're offered, the community chose to close the county-supported recycling drop-off center that had been at their public works yard for a number of years. Under the condition of county support, we were providing funding to offset some of the costs of that service. That required that facility to be available to all of the residents outside of that community, Three Rivers, Caldera Springs, any residents outside of Sun River had the opportunity to use that facility. We've been getting a number of calls ever since that facility closed as to what curbside options might be available to them, or could the county expand our drop-off options? We've done neither up to this point. One other change in the system that has occurred since the Solid Waste Management Plan adoption was the passage of the Recycling Modernization Act, which is a bill that requires producers and manufacturers of packaging materials, particularly those that are in the current recycling stream, have to financially participate in the recycling collection system. Part of that is that they have to provide funding, they being producers and manufacturers, under their umbrella group called the Circular Action Alliance. They have to support and fund any infrastructure that is needed to expand recycling. In this case, they are responsible for the funding of any new additional carts that are needed to expand recycling in the county, as well as any new collection vehicles. So that capital cost, not operating costs, not drivers, not gasoline, those sorts of things, but the capital costs are funded by CAA in this proposal. Hence the significant difference that we were seeing with the subscription rate of potentially $20 per household per month to now a cost of $6 per household per month. Okay. Those funds are not going to be provided to Republic Services until 2027. But Republic has offered the service with the inclusion of the assumption that those grant funds will be provided to them no later than 2027 or 2028. And that we have heard from CAA, Circular Action Alliance, that they are committed and obligated to provide that funding reimbursement when those funds are eligible. The service itself, just so that you're aware of what it would be, all households would be provided a 96-gallon cart. Households could opt not to receive that container, but they would have to pay the additional fee that would impact the rates relative to this new service. That service would be provided every other week, every 2 weeks, not on a weekly basis like garbage, but every other week. The cost, as stated, would be $6 per month, increase to their current rate. This service would commence sometime after July 1st, 2026. That would allow time for the purchase of the carts and the acquisition of new vehicles. And the last thing I would add is customers, if they are able to divert materials out of their garbage into their recycling cart, they would have the opportunity to downsize their garbage container. That downsize of any downsize from a 96-gallon cart to a 65-gallon cart for garbage, or from a 65-gallon cart to a 35-gallon cart, would cover the cost of that increase. But that would only occur if they're able to divert, if they aren't already driving recyclables to a drop-off station. We did promote this. Republic Services sent postcards to 7,800 of their distant rural customers. They sent them out approximately 3 weeks ago. There were 823 households that did not receive that. Initially, there was a hang up at the mailing house. Those subsequently were sent out last week. So we're hopeful that all households, if they haven't gotten it as of today, will get it sometime over the next, sometime this week. We just can't control the mail.
So Tim, are you saying where I am out in Sisters that I don't believe I got a postcard?
You might be part of that 820.
23? Yes,
Not receive it. You should have received
I
it.
should have. Okay, I didn't. Thanks.
I did. I received it at my house.
You did? Okay. We did publish it as well in the public notice in the Bend Bulletin, the Redmond Spokesman, the Nugget, and the Lapine Sun River News. So with that, I'll hand it back to the chair for how you'd like to proceed.
Thank you. Tim, I know you also, you've tallied the public comments, the written public comments we've received so far, and so as not to influence the verbal public comment that we're going to get in the next few minutes, I'll ask you to hold that. But I would like to circle back and have you share that information shortly. With that, are there any questions or comments for Tim before we jump into the public hearing?
No.
Okay. Well, at this time, we will allow members of the public to make comment on this item. I only have one blue sheet so far. If anyone else would like to give public comment who's in the room, please bring up your blue sheet now. And if not, we'll take this one in-person comment and then we'll go online. Okay, come on up. Sorry, the blue sheets are over there in the corner. Thank you. And people can be working on their blue sheets while we call the first couple of folks up. So first off, we have Diane Tolley, and then we'll have Kim Lavelle. And feel free to come up and join us right now.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. I've been waiting 4.5 years for it. I've talked to you, Mr. Chang. I've talked to you, Patty, about this issue. 5 years ago, I moved into our home. It's 66925 Rock Island Lane. It's exactly halfway between Tumalo and Sisters. And for some reason, our subdivision, Plainview Ranch, has 22 lots. Of the 22 lots, there's 21 owners. Of the 21 owners, 80% are occupied. Of that 80%, 75% of the people are over the age of 65. Now, that shouldn't have a big bearing on this, but it does because, as you know, older people have more medical needs and more issues with picking up big, heavy bags of stuff. We all want to do what we're supposed to do. We all want to recycle. We all are recycling. but we all have to haul our stuff to either Fry Rear or Sisters. Now, that in and of itself is not so bad, but I know going up the stairs and going down the stairs is very, very difficult. Very difficult. The reality of this whole thing is when I talk to Tim, and I've talked to everybody, I've been through 4 managers, but the thing is that everybody keeps saying, well, we need this, we need that, we need this. Is it an all or nothing deal here? Is it something that we can call and say, we're willing to pay? Our subdivision is willing to pay. The state says we should have it. If we get garbage service, we should get recycling service. You guys told me we should. But the bottom line is we just keep getting passed from one person to the next person, to one vote to the next vote, to one new truck to the next man. It's gone so bad that I've stood there with my phone and timed the garbage trucks coming into our subdivision and leaving. And on an average, it's less than 15 minutes for them to pick up our garbage, our real garbage. So I just can't see why it should be such a big issue. And I'm learning, boy, I'm learning. I've learned all the laws lately. But the bottom line is that if we're willing to do it, if we're getting the garbage already, if we're willing to pay for it, I think that it's something that we should allow.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
input.
Thank you, Diane, for your patience.
Thanks for joining.
Well, yes,
And we-
It's really frustrating. We want to do what's right. We just can't. Our hands are tied.
right.
We may finally be able to deliver today.
What?
We may finally be able to deliver
Oh
today.
my God, I hope so much. Everybody in our subdivision is asking you to do yes, everyone.
Okay. Thank you for representing them.
Thank you. Go for it, big guy.
Yep.
Morning still.
Yeah.
I'm Kim Lavelle. I live in Caldera Springs, which I didn't realize was distant rural county until today. That was a new term for me. In a nutshell, I'm in favor. I agree with the previous commenter. It's been a long time coming. It's time now. I've yet to meet somebody in our community that is not in favor of this. The costs seem to be reasonable. It saves us a trip to Lapine a couple of times a month. So my comments are short, but everybody that I am friends and neighbors with in our community supports.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for driving from the distant community
Just
of Caldera.
today.
Like, oh my gosh.
Feel free to just bring the blue forms right up here. Thank you. And you can just stay up here. Come on up. Ellen and Laura.
My name is Ellen Jones, and my husband and I are honored to live in the Three Rivers area. It's a gorgeous place. We love living there. We, for a long time, shared the benefit of having the Sun River Recycling Center that was mentioned, and then that went away. And now we are willing to drive down to the South Transfer Station where my dog likes to get dog treats every time we go. But that having been said, in both cases, the Sun River Center that is no longer there, and now at the South Transfer Center, I'm nearing my 70th birthday, and I have skittered around both of those recycling centers on ice for the last 7 years. I'm willing to do it because I believe strongly in the principle of recycling and maintaining our some control over the stuff that we produce in our economy. But at the same time, as I approach my 70th birthday, I start to think about what those options might be when I have to do the skittering more and more as I get older and older. And I see our neighbors in the same position. And I also see a lot of stuff that's being thrown away in our neighborhood because some people are not willing to make the drive down to the transfer station. So I can't predict that if we have recycling bins in our neighborhood, that recycling is going to increase. I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know that in terms of practicality and I think honoring our population for safety reasons, that it makes sense to support this and to provide those opportunities. I like the idea that the offset that would be provided if people were able to have smaller containers could be somewhat of an incentive, because I recognize that with fixed incomes, even $6 a month may be somewhat prohibitive, but hopefully those things would come out in the wash. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Laura?
I'm also from the Three Rivers area, and yes, we don't have any recycling pretty much anywhere nearby because the Lapine is a distance of a drive, and I bring mine up to Bend. And so it does create, a garage filled with recycling that I have to save and make storage space for, since we don't have a curbside. It is awkward. It is, it's an effort. It's definitely an effort. I think a lot of people in our community probably don't recycle because of the effort. It does take a lot of extra trips and time management opposed to having something that you can just do right at your curbside. I think that would be a great advantage to have. We've been wanting this for years. We don't want to feel like we're the distant part of the community. We want to feel like we're included in the community. That's a big part of the feel of where we live. We don't want to feel like we're distant in that sense. And I do, I've worked in another community county where I was involved in the composting projects, and once again that was another reason to be for it, was that you could reduce your actual trash and reduce the size of your can to make up for any extra costs. So that is definitely a strong incentive, I think, in my mind, that you can reduce your actual size of your container. I look in our neighborhood, and a lot of people do have the large ones. We have the small one, and it does kind of force us to be aware of how much trash we're actually contributing to the landfill, because I know that will eventually fill, and that's an issue of how much we actually contribute to that landfill. So kind of encouraging neighbors or friends, like, well, you can reduce the amount that you put in the trash and use the recycling.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for driving up.
From distant rural.
Yes. The hinterland.
Is there anyone else in the room who would like to testify on this topic? Kim, is there anyone online? Becca, please join us.
Hello, commissioners.
When you are.
Is this audio okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, commissioners. My name is Becca Phelps. I live in the Three Rivers community as well. So hi to my neighbors in person. I've been a Deschutes County resident since 2015, and I've been involved in local environmental and sustainability education for our youth here in the county for, I don't any longer, but I have been involved in that for about 8 years. So have a lot of personal buy-in to saving space and not landfill. And then for future, for the future landfill, hoping to teach. I have a 6-week-old at home, so hoping to teach the future of our county about how to reduce waste and to increase the, systems that we use here in the county to make them better and just more sustainable for everyone as a whole. So like my neighbors have mentioned in person, I have been recycling manually by hand to all the different options like the Sun River Recycling Center and the Lapine Transfer Station. And then sometimes just visiting my old friends at Not Landfill from when I would take kids there for field trips to teach them about the landfill systems. And while it's a fun Sunday event with me and my husband, we are hoping to no longer have to do that by hand and would really appreciate, all of the services being extended to us down in South County. And I also know that there's a lot of community groups in the Three Rivers area who have all, that I'm a part of for different things like parent groups and neighborhood collective action groups that have all been really excited when this opportunity has been presented to us. And then the times when it's been pushed back, we've been like, oh man, not again. So I think just generally there is a good consensus that people would utilize these services, utilize them well. And I think the education piece would be also really important to make sure people use this properly, like they do in Bend. And I know people would be eager to have the service and, to use it respectfully and just help our neighbors recycle better and recycle right. So thanks for the time and hope we get recycling soon.
Thank you, Becca. Okay. Kim, anyone else online? Yeah. Great.
Good question. Is that wrong?
Chair's discretion. Sure.
Come on up to the mic again, please. There's people online.
Is this an all or nothing thing?
Uh.
In other words, if this is adopted, then everybody gets it. If it isn't adopted, can we still ask Republic or whoever to, in our little area, if we can get it, or is it just not available?
Not available.
Yeah.
That's been the catch-22 we've been in.
Yeah, that.
But there is, but you know what, as you heard Tim explain, if we move forward with this, basically anyone who wants service needs to pay the extra $6 and gets recycling, but people have the option of rejecting the universal service. So I
The opportunity or the right to say, I'm sorry, you're willing to pay for it, but because we didn't do this whole big area, you can't get it in your area.
No, we're making the decision for the whole rural county right now.
Okay.
Tim, I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
Maybe a month and a half ago or something, you had mentioned that you could actually apply to get a break on your trash collection fee. Has that gone away? You had said something like, they had something out there. I thought it was Republic.
We'd have to ask Republic on that.
Okay.
Now here, if you'd like to.
Yeah, no, it would, you did mention that to me at one point, did you not?
It is offered within the cities. That is an option.
Okay. So maybe you could explain that in case anyone is watching that you do have.
Yeah, there's we do offer rate discounts based off of.
Real quick, just
Yes, thank you so much.
Can you hear me? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Erica Heitzma. I'm the general manager with Republic Services. So within our franchise structure, we do offer senior discounts and fixed income discounts. So there's if customers meet requirements, they can reach out to us and apply for discounted rates.
Do they have to live in the city then, or can they live in the country?
I would have to, as a takeaway, look at the specific Deschutes County rate table. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we do offer that. I know in the city of Bend, city of Redmond area, so the city area. So I apologize. I will, we can look up those rate sheets and connect back with the commissioners and with staff.
Okay, and the public, because
Right.
I'm sure they would appreciate it, because did we not just hear that a lot of people were older that lived out in this neighborhood? And so they might even get a break, get the service and get a break.
and while we're asking about rates, can I just ask about the difference between the big trash container and the small trash container? Again?
Yeah, so between from a 95 gallon down to a 65 gallon, the difference is just under $10. It's $9.70.
So theoretically, if having commingled recycling collection allows you to shrink from your 95 to 65 gallon can, you could actually net $3.75 per month.
That's correct.
That is a great motivation. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. If you'll let us know, that would be great.
So Tim, now could you share with us the written comments received to date, kind
Yeah.
of what the breakdown was and what people said?
Sure. As of 9 a.m. this morning, we'd received 112 comments. 99 of those comments were in favor of the $6 fee and adding recycling, and 13 were against it. We've posted all that came through yesterday on our website, our public hearing website at Solid Waste.
Great, thank you. Do you have anything else to share with us?
No, only that the decision today, if you decide to move, you have the option here at the conclusion of this hearing to hold the oral and written records open and continue the hearing to a date certain. You can close the oral record and hold the written record open until a date certain. You can close both the oral and written records and set a date certain for deliberations, or you can close both oral and written record and begin deliberations at this meeting.
Preferences of the board?
Well, Diane's sitting here and she's been incredibly patient for 4 years. I would say close both the oral and written and begin deliberations.
I support that.
I would support that as well. Commencing deliberations.
So just a couple of big picture items. Are the rolling carts made of recycled plastic?
Under
I see a hot and then
Erica's nodding.
10%. Well, there you go. I mean, because that's exciting. That kind of closes the loop on some of that. We do have folks that do have the smallest container, so not everybody's going to be able to qualify for a break if you're reducing your size, and that's going to be the situation my wife and I are in. It's just the two of us in the house, and there's some things that aren't going to be able to be recycled. So this will be a commingled container. I'm sure there'll be some what's the term? Some
contamination.
Well, I don't know. They have a fun term for hopeful recycling or whatever it is. Wishful. Yeah. So we'll have to go through a learning curve here to, make sure we're not putting in stuff that really kind of messes up those flows. And it was good to hear that there's 7,800, or was that the total number, or is that number plus 800?
That's the total number that we're
just 800 of the cards didn't quite get out in time. And then
800 did though.
I did advocate for a public hearing on this matter. Tim and I talked about it a year ago or less than a year ago now, but there's some people that have already called me. We had the conversation at church because those cards went out on Sunday morning. What are you going to do to me now? So not everybody's excited about this. People's heart feels so good when you recycle, but some of this is telling our neighbors how to do their thing. And it's not everybody's super excited about this, but it's good to see the numbers. It's 90-10, 80-20 kind of thing. And I'm supportive. I'm not, but there's people that are not too excited about this either. And I go to the recycling center at the transfer station in Southern Deschutes County, and I'm in there a couple times a year with all kinds of things. So it's just part of my world. Just a couple thoughts to get going.
Commissioner Dare?
I think I've been in recycling, well, my whole life. My grandmother was a recycler. She set an excellent example. And honestly, I worry about the commingled. Where is the value going to be? Are there machines in it that are going to separate it? I know that it's going to be a lot more comfortable for a lot of people. Finally, after 38 years of marriage, my husband now, the last 2 years, has been going to the recycling center. It was really,
You're too busy, probably.
Just maybe. Anyway, he actually goes like, oh, I went to recycling today. And I'm like, thank you, dear. Anyway, I do appreciate it. But I do, I hope the net result will be good for what we're recycling, because I know cardboard is good. Glass has value. I'm hopeful that the state has actually looked at the commingled effect, but if it's going to help more people recycle, I think it's great. So I do appreciate that 13 people were against it, but almost 100 were for it.
And everyone who came to join us today.
Well, and we also did try to do that subscription service. That's the funny part. A year ago, we thought, oh, good, we dialed it in. We're going to be able, whoever wants to do it can do it. And then it just didn't work. This is state rules and expectations by whoever the higher ups here. So, but we thought we had something a year ago too.
So, Tim, is anything really cost effective now being recycled? I know we're not sending it to China anymore. Is cardboard still I still see those trucks going over the pass.
Yeah, the cardboard has, everything has value. Now what's happening with the system is all of the costs related to the transport and processing of recyclables are now all those costs are being picked up by producers and manufacturers. So that is starting to be removed from our costs. So, and we're just continuing to see the continued value of the materials that are being collected once sorted.
Thank you.
Well, I'm really excited. We're at this point that sometimes policy does, sometimes we trip over our own policies and they keep us from getting to where we want to go. But I think I'm really glad that we finally have a pathway, that the Recycling Modernization Act is providing this, subsidization of the transport and processing that we need to put recycling within reach, within easy reach for so many more people. Just thinking about about how dispersed some of these areas are, how low density and far out some of these rural areas are. I think that $6 a month is a great deal. So I'm really glad we've gotten to that place as well. So excited to move forward with this. And if there's no further discussion, then I entertain a motion.
Actually, for people on fixed income, $6 is something, and hopefully they'll have the opportunity either to get a discount from Republic, which will try and notify them. Because, yes, in today's world with all of the inflation, it's really been really hard on a lot of people on fixed incomes. And that is a lot of our Deschutes County. I will make the motion to, okay, so we've,
There's a draft board order in
Uh-huh.
your packet that you could refer to. You could just move approval of the board order.
okay. Oh, yes, board order. I move approval of board order number 26-003 for adding commingled recycling in specific areas of unincorporated Deschutes County.
And I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
So just two other notes, this is a cost of doing business, vehicles, fuel and labor, so $6 has been mentioned. I'm sure it'll maybe evolve over time. Hopefully that's the right number. And then if there's a way to subsidize people really in need, very exciting to be able to put this online. And thank you to our haulers. I mean, you're absolutely partners in this, both franchise operators that are here with us, the folks that are out there every day. As I say, I'm just amazed. I put it out on a Thursday morning and it's empty when I come home, and it's been like that for years, all the weather that we have year round. So, I mean, it really is an amazing service that we have.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for making recycling work. With that, I'll call for the vote. Commissioner Dare.
Yes.
Commissioner DeBonne.
Yes.
And chair votes yes.
Thank
you.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you, Tim. Okay. Item 9 on our agenda, consideration of approval for road department submittal of a better utilizing investment to leverage development build planning grant application for US 97 South interchange at Deschutes River Woods.
Morning.
Good morning.
Cody Smith, and I will fumble to join the meeting here so I can share my presentation. All right. So board, I'm here this morning to ask for your authorization for the road department submit a grant application under the Build Grant Program through the United States Department of Transportation for planning for the US 97 Deschutes River Woods South Interchange project. Oh, and also note, Chris Doty's name was on the previous slide. Chris couldn't be here today. He drew the short straw for a interview panel today, so I'm pinch hitting today. Brief description of the Build program. The Build program is a federal funding opportunity that was originally established as the Tiger Grant program under the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act back in 2009. The program has gone through a few name changes over the years with different federal transportation packages. Prior to being called the Build Grant Program, it was called the Raise Grant Program. We've had recently locally here had some success with the Raise Grant Program. It contributed some of the funding towards the Bend North Corridor project. City of Bend also more recently is receiving some of that money for their Hawthorne pedestrian bridge project.
So how much was the Bend North Corridor then, Cody? Do you remember?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember, Commissioner.
Okay. It was 55 million or something. It was huge.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. Sounds right to me. So the program promotes investments in surface transportation infrastructure that would have a significant local or regional impact. For federal fiscal year 26, it's providing approximately $1.5 billion in funding. I believe 45 million of that is dedicated to planning projects, which is the project we are proposing would be a planning project at this point. And planning grants are eligible for 100% funding through the program. So a little description of the project. So the project we're proposing under this would be for planning and preliminary design for a new interchange on Highway 97 that would be at the south end of the Deschutes River Woods neighborhood. It would also be in close proximity to the High Desert Museum. This would provide secondary access to Deschutes River Woods to improve community connectivity and resiliency, primarily, the need for quick ingress, egress out of that neighborhood in the event of a natural disaster. Road Department, about a year ago, actually, I think almost exactly a year ago, we had actually prepared a grant application for this project under the PROTECT program, which is another US DOT program under the IIJA legislation. In the days before those applications were due, the current administration actually pulled that program, pulled the NOFO for that, the notice of funding opportunity for that program, and basically put it on hold indefinitely. So mostly just bringing this up because we mostly had this application ready to go, so a lot of the heavy lifting had been done. So we've just here over the last month or so been kind of turning our old PROTECT grant application into a Build grant. The PROTECT grant program focused primarily more on natural disaster resiliency, whereas the Build grant is kind of more an all-encompassing program. The project would include overcrossing of US 97 as well as Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad. Again, down in generally in the proximity of the High Desert Museum. This project was discussed and included in the county's transportation system plan when we did the update a couple of years ago. It's project S6 in the current transportation system plan. If we were combing through our project list and our transportation system plan right now and just picking one project that was prime for this program, it would be this project. Couple of concept figures we're including in this program. are in this application for some different options. These are just very preliminary at this point. Kind of the first step, if we were successful in getting this grant, kind of the first step in the project would be a fairly robust refinement process that would ultimately result in an interchange area management plan, similar to what ODOT just went through for the US 97 Knott Baker Road interchange, and have been in front of the board here recently, sharing their the results of their years long effort there. That said, we are showing some high level concepts as part of this application that are shown on the screen there. So yeah, a little more details on the scope of work proposed under this. So first, just like I said, the planning activities to develop the interchange area management plan, which would involve several rounds of fairly robust public outreach. Completion of the necessary environmental clearances under NEPA, because we're dealing with federal funds here, and there also is an interface with the Deschutes National Forest here with this project. There will be a fairly involved environmental process. And then, from that, the proposal, we'd be working on the preliminary design package for this. So basically bringing it up to roughly a 60% design level. So no right-of-way acquisitions from this, no actual construction plans generated from this. It would be bring it up to a point where it's ready for the county and or ODOT to start seeking other funding opportunities for the actual construction of the project. And then noting that the project would be administered by ODOT here locally, again, similar to some of the other recent build raise grant projects that I've just described. So what we're asking for here with this project, or with this application, a total of $5.25 million. The breakdowns there on your screen, but about $1 million of that would just be for the initial refinement planning process. About $500,000 for the environmental review process, and then the remainder there would be in the preliminary engineering, and there's some contingency built into all of those, as there is with all these types of grant programs. So just some additional notes here. So we're more or less working hand in hand with ODOT staff on preparing this application right now. I did include the full application in the agenda submittal here. Fairly lengthy document at this point, and it's still really in draft form. We're going to be working right up till the final day here. These applications are due on February 24th. But so we're still it's still a work in process there, but just the narrative portion of our application alone right now is about 31 pages long. But we are working closely with ODOT. ODOT's partnering with us on this application. They're not going to be the applicant themselves. The program only allows state and local agencies to submit up to 3 applications under the build grant. So ODOT has other priorities around the state, so they're using their 3 applications for those projects. And I'm not exactly sure which projects those are, but
So is Highway 97 one of those ODOT things?
not again, they can submit 3 statewide. I'm not familiar with any that they're doing in our area or necessarily in ODOT Region 4.
Okay. Well, we'll have to ask.
So again, I'll just emphasize that, if we were successful with this application, a big part of this is going to be a significant public engagement and refinement process to get community, partner, all stakeholder buy-in on this project and help with the refinement of that project. Yeah, and then again, with that, the goal would be for ODOT and the county to pursue future funding opportunities for the actual construction of the project. I think I noted in my staff report right now that the current estimate for the total project's about $74 million, which was based on some of the high-level scoping that we had done with the TSP effort. And I think I failed to mention also in regards to letters of support. road department staffs already reached out to our federal congressional delegation. We're already have letters of support for the application coming in. I think just this morning we got one from Representative Bentz's office, but we're already working on those. I believe next week Chris is going to be presenting this to the MPO to get a letter of support from them. I mentioned ODOT. We've got some other kind of key stakeholder letters of support that we're already working on. So, all right, with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and happy to answer any questions.
How does this be a priority for us? And what's the driver for it? You know, the Deschutes River Woods safety, ingress, egress, or flow counts, or what's the?
Yeah, that's the primary, that was the primary driving force for it making its way into our transportation system plan, was that resiliency and connectivity for that whole community there, having a secondary evacuation route, combined with some of the current safety deficiencies on Highway 97 itself, with the current left turn configuration into the High Desert Museum. Since adoption into the county's TSP, that project has been adopted into other regional plans, ODOT's resiliency plan for the state highway system. There are a few other plans I'm not remembering off the top of my head that have to do more with countywide and region-wide resiliency efforts.
And this would lower the traffic at Baker, all the incoming, exiting Baker traffic for that neighborhood area.
Yes, it certainly would accomplish that.
Yeah.
Cody, I'm not remembering right now. I can distinctly visualize trying to get into the High Desert Museum and making the left turn. So right now you can left out to try to get onto southbound. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And
across two northbound lanes. Yeah.
Yeah. And do we have any kind of metrics of basically how dangerous that left in, left out is?
The only metric I have off the top of my head is in the most recent 5-year period, we got crash data available. There were, I believe there are 28 reported crashes right in the vicinity of this project. And in terms of, I'm not aware of any fatal crashes that were, but I think all of those were injury crashes.
Yeah. But 28 in 5 years.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
What about south side of Redmond? Is that in Redmond's world, or would that come up in the priority list of alternate projects? Thinking fairgrounds and economic activity in the south of the.
Yeah, that project's certainly there. There's a lot more local planning effort that has to happen, I'd say, for that project before it could it would be something that would be eligible for this program.
Yeah, and that's my thought. There's another parallel project just at the south side of our other large city that could almost fit this same scenario. That would be more for economic development instead of residential evacuation.
Yeah, that's certainly a project, but again, there's still some significant local planning effort, primarily that the city of Redmond needs to take on.
Yeah, so it's not as mature as this. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I understood.
So Cody, in a perfect world, if this actually happens, when would it maybe be done?
When you say done, you mean
finished? Yes.
That's hard to say. I'd be
like 5 years, 10 years.
I'd say we're looking at 10 years, probably.
10 years?
I mean, I think just with this, we don't have exact dates on when we're actually going to do the review on this program. I would say hopefully we hear word this summer. We probably don't have funding agreements and everything in place until next year, so we'd be kicking this off in 2027. Just the whole planning process. I'd expect that's going to take 3 to 4 years at least. Yeah, and then it's a matter of how and from where that we can secure construction dollars to get it advanced to that stage. So,
yeah. I mean, just look at the Baker Knott interchange. I mean, we wouldn't. We've been working on that for quite a while at this point, and we don't have all the construction dollars in hand yet. So it's, from this point on, it really depends on funding availability.
Right. And similar to that case, having the IAMP, the interchange area management plan in place to have clearly defined the scope for that project makes it a much better candidate for those funding opportunities. And the same would be true with this one.
Oh, I did hear back from Omar. Because I did ask him if any of those applications were for us in the build, and he said, we requested the ability to submit an application, sounds dumb, but it needs to be legislatively approved. The application is for the median barrier on 97 at Juniper Butte. It includes other stuff like shoulder widening, rumble strips, and a variable message signs. So that they did do something in our region from MoDOT.
Under the build program?
Yeah, that was my question to him. So,
okay.
Yeah, so we did get something.
Hot off the presses.
Yeah, thank you.
Wait. They're applying.
Right, they're applying. Yes, but that's, I said, are you asking for anything from our region? So this is good.
I'll move approval of a road department submittal for an application for the build grant.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? So many needs along 97, so many needs in our growing community. It's great to just keep chipping away at the list and keep moving projects forward. Thank you.
Yep.
And with that, calling for the vote, Commissioner DeBonne?
Yes.
Commissioner Dare?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Right.
Thanks, Cody. Okay. Item number 10, a proposed road name change, file number 247-25-000-700-RN. Tarek, thanks for joining us.
Morning, Commissioners. Yeah, for the record, Tarek Rawlings, Senior Transportation Planner with the Community Development Department and the Road Department. I apologize for my voice. I'm getting over a cold. And yeah, just as you mentioned, today's a consideration of a road name assignment. It's really an assignment that's not a name currently assigned to this drive. It's an access corridor that's basically a shared driveway. Similar to these sort of internally initiated road naming requests, this originated with an emergency services request for identification of a shared driveway, which basically results in a road name sign and an increased ability for emergency services, and really other services to identify the various properties that use this shared access. So that's file number 247-25-000-700-RN. The proposed road name is Horned Owl Trail. That's a name that was decided on through kind of collective communication between the 5 property owners that use this shared driveway access. There was just one written comment essentially pointing to this as the preferred name option. This became final after mailing the final decision on January 27th. So it became final 10 days later on February 6th. And our code requires that we have the board consider an order approving the road name assignment within 10 days of that final date. So that gives us till February 16th. So here we are in the middle of that period. And in consideration of that approval, we have on pages 74 and 75 of the packet is board order number 2026-004. And so that would be before you today for consideration. There's been no appeals filed or anything like that. No further comment after the final decision was mailed out and the notice was sent to those property owners. And so I'm available for any questions you might have, but the board order is in your packet.
Any questions?
I did figure out now they could say they live on hot.
Yeah, we don't use the acronyms that much, but
I know. I was just going. I mean, that's a lot to write out, but that's very.
I'm supportive.
Any further comments or questions before a motion?
No, if there's 5 people on the road, it sounds like it will help emergency services a lot, don't you think?
I think so. That was our main request originally came from Cloverdale Fire District. So this originated because I would just be speculating, but they've had calls near that area or on this road before and had difficulty identifying which interior property they were trying to respond to. So this would address their concerns.
I know I tried to go to, what is it? The big, huge ranch. And I tried to go down Jordan, the back way off of Cloverdale, and that one doesn't go through. So yeah, it gets a little confusing over there. So this is great. I appreciate it. So did you make a motion then?
Nope.
So
I'd like to.
I'll move approval of board order number 2026-004, assigning the name of Horned Owl Trail to an existing unnamed gravel driveway stemming east from Cloverdale Road.
And I will second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
Commissioner DeBonne,
Yes.
and chair votes yes.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tarek.
Thank you, Tarek.
Admin, and I think we'll just put the road name sign in, and that's pretty much it for next steps. So
Wonderful.
thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 11, Cannabis Advisory Panel Budget Recommendations.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jen Patterson, Strategic Initiatives Manager for the record. I'm here today. I stole somebody else's paper off the printer. I am here. I'm here today to talk about the fiscal year 2027 Cannabis Advisory Panel budget recommendations. On January 26th, the CAP, Cannabis Advisory Panel, refer to them CAP going forward, met to discuss budget recommendations. During that meeting, the 4 departments who have received previous funding were invited to present a mid-year update from their fundings that they received in fiscal year 2026. Additionally, all departments were reached out to request or submit a proposal for any fiscal year 2027 CAP funding that comes through the state of Oregon. It was just the same 4 departments who received funding in fiscal year 2026 who submitted a proposal for fiscal year 2027. So we rolled their presentations into one. They were each given some allocated time to provide their mid-year updates and to present their proposals to the CAP for their fiscal year 2027 recommendations. It was a great discussion, really well attended by departments and staff, and the CAP always enjoys talking with them and hearing how their fundings are being put to use each year. We have the Community Development Department Code Enforcement team there, Community Justice, Juvenile Justice team, Health Services, specifically Public Health, and their outreach, media outreach campaigns, and the Sheriff's Office. So we had a Sheriff's Office is a member of the CAP. That's Anthony Ramos, goes by Tony Ramos. And then we had a couple other members from the Sheriff's Office there to give support as well, including Jeff Price and Lieutenant Brian Husband. And so in the end, there was just a little bit of funds. We have about an estimated amount of $183,000 in revenue expected, in cannabis tax revenue expected for fiscal year 2027, and $190,000 in proposals. So it wasn't that far off between what they were proposing and what they were estimating. And after hearing, spending about an hour and 45 minutes listening to the different departments, the CAP then went into discussions, and they are recommending $20,000 go to CDD, $33,000 goes to community justice, $50,000 goes to health services, and $80,000 to the Sheriff's Office. And I'll stop there and happy to answer any questions.
Jen, my first question is, how different is this than the allocation last year?
Yeah, it's very, very similar. I should have that. I do have that pulled up on my laptop, but I'll try to remember off the top of my head. Last year, actually, the estimate that came in was higher than what we've actually been receiving. So we're going to have to do some adjustments there. Last year's tax revenue, it looks like it's going to be more on point to 184,600, and the estimate that we received from Finance Department prior to that meeting last January was 193,000. So a little bit more was allocated, and it's going to be dropped down a little bit in their actual allocation. So it's going to land pretty close to what they received last year. In that question, did you want to know the departments, the individual
breakdown
departments,
between
and
the
how much they got? Let me just pull that up so that I don't misquote it. I think I can remember it, but I don't want to misquote it. So CDD received 20,000. They've consistently requested and consistently received $20,000 in the 3 years that I've been working on them with them. Since I've been working with the CAP. Community Justice received 26,000 last year, and they are recommended to receive 33,000 this year. Health Services received 56,000 last year, and it's recommended that they receive 50,000 this year. And the Sheriff's Office received 95,000 last year, and it's recommended that they receive 80,000 this year.
Right. But all those numbers are being trimmed a little bit because
of
they're
that.
down from 193 estimated to 184. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, Sheriff has 1 R and 2 Fs.
I do know that. I did it wrong. It has been the bane of my existence, but
Yeah.
I usually catch it every
I
time.
spell niece wrong all the time, so don't feel badly. I just was like,
Thank you. Yeah,
it's a
thank you.
very easy word to like flip it. So anyway,
Was there any discussion about the volume of CDD code enforcement?
Yep, there was a robust discussion. I would have to pull up their PowerPoint to talk about that, but they talk thoroughly about their different code enforcements, and also they have established through the CAP a very close working relationship with the Sheriff's Office, and a little bit through the Water Resource Department too, which is a tool that can be used, a civil tool that can be used in enforcement in illegal growth operations. So I wouldn't want to quote exactly the number. There was a lot of numbers that were thrown around that day, but I'm happy to share the PowerPoint presentations, both from the Sheriff's Office and from CDD, which included the numbers from what they were seeing.
I'm more than specific numbers. I'm just looking for an impression on, is there
going down? Yeah. So what I'll paraphrase more from the Sheriff's Office Department, where it's becoming more difficult to catch the illegal growth operations because they're going more inside instead of these large scale plant growth operations. It's the this BHO butane honey oil operations, which are indoors and they're harder to catch, but they are very dangerous when they're indoors. We saw some examples of just wiring and propane tanks and all these things that make it really scary. But it also makes it a little bit more challenging to catch these large scale illegal growth operations when they're plant-based.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
My quick paraphrasing without being a subject matter expert on the.
That's some great insight. Thank you.
Yep.
I was able to.
had an interesting conversation with Brian Husband the other day, and a citizen was concerned about something, but there was like there was a bigger story behind. Yes. So yeah, it's out there.
There were some very interesting stories told, and that video is up online if anyone wants to watch the 2+ hour CAP meeting. But the Sheriff's Office gave some really detailed stories and about their activities out in the field and what they've been doing.
I was able to get the marijuana tax revenue spreadsheet from Tim Dooley of AOC, which is provided by the Department of Revenue. Last few years, total marijuana tax revenue, 144 million and 144,628,507. So 144 million. I'm going to round these numbers around for Commissioner Adair here, but that was 22. 23 is 139 million. 24 went back up to 144. 25 went back to 133. So it's been going up and down at the big number. This is the total number. And then, but now the market is going down. The value of the sales tax, is relative to the price, and so it's been going down. And I can share this spreadsheet. It was just from Tim Dooley for the Public Safety Committee we were on.
I would say that's the anecdote that we're hearing too on the cap from the, there's 3 cannabis dispensary owners on the cap who've also been seeing that trend as well.
Yeah, and we heard it on the behavioral health end from the behavioral health folks talking about how burn BHRN funding is going down.
And that's at St. Paul and McDowell.
Yeah.
And the cartel is still working in America, the cartels. So, yeah, such a problem.
Well, I'll move to approve the recommendations for distribution of Cannabis Advisory Panel dollars. I guess there may be a recommended motion here, but that was what I came up with.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I guess I would just say I hope we continue to thank the Cannabis Advisory Panel for their service, trying to help us think about in a holistic way how to deal with the availability of this controlled substance in our community.
Yeah, it's been a really great panel. They've been working together. I think they're all on their 2nd term, except for 1 or 2 who are newer transitioned in. And unfortunately, we're losing our chair, Liz Lodachensky, who has given so much and has been, we actually changed the charter per the vote of the board to allow her to continue to be chair there, or I'm sorry, per the vote of the cap to be chair there. So we're sad to lose her. She's moving out of state, but we have her for, I think, 2 more meetings.
So she's moving out of state.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll give her a nice thank you letter.
Yes, of course. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to other items. Do commissioners have other items they want to raise?
I think I had a couple things. Letters for Redmond Fire. Yeah, so we'll see what comes around here. Yep.
All right. We
I
want
think
to
the letters are, yeah.
we want to queue those up. I wanted to raise the request letter that we got from Central Oregon Irrigation District and the Deschutes Basin Board of Control for a drought declaration. We don't have a drought declaration ready to vote on at this point, but given that these things can be time sensitive, they want our declaration so that they can go to the governor and ask for, that's what really matters, so that they can ask for the Oregon Water Resources Department to allow, streamlined, lease arrangements and things like that. I don't want to hold them up too long, and I know that we're not all going to be here next week on Wednesday. So, was hoping that we could at least chat about it for a couple minutes now and maybe get it onto the consent agenda for next week.
Sure.
I'm supportive.
You all received that letter from Craig Harrell and Jenny Hartzell Hill.
I haven't read it, but I mean, if the irrigation district is the, water agency in our community, so if they're already asking, I'll be supportive.
I'm just, I would love to hear from Craig what the flood irrigation farmers is down to now. I know they were working on getting more of those people not using flood irrigation. I just wondered, is it down to 17% now? So if he can get back to me with that number, that would be great. And especially this year, yes.
Nick, you're capturing that? Yeah.
Thank
And the other thing that this ties to is we had a request for OWRD to come and give a presentation at some point in the future. We're going to need basically to talk reservoirs and to talk groundwater. We're going to need 2 different OWRD people, Jeremy and
Joe.
And Joe. Yeah, Joe
Yeah,
Kemper.
I thought we were going to do that at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday.
Yes. Yeah. So they are available. I was just going to say they are available next week, the 2 of them, but we're not all here. So we will do it. We will do it a little later. In the ideal world, we could have that presentation at the same time that we're considering, the drought declaration, but so as not to hold the the irrigation districts up, maybe we can just accelerate that piece, and we'll get to ask all our questions to Water Resources Department in a few weeks, if that sounds all right.
Sounds fine.
Commissioner, would you like me to provide the update?
Sure.
Just briefly, Joe wasn't available this week. The full board's not available next week. Jeremy's not available the following week. So I'm coordinating with them on either Monday, March 2nd or Wednesday, March 4th. And Jeremy's going to get back to me. So we're coordinating closely on the date for that presentation and discussion.
All right. Soon enough. I had one other item I wanted to mention if other commissioners don't want to jump in right now. So we just had notification that the city of Redmond, well, ODOT, got $250,000 in a congressionally directed spending allocation for 126 and 35th, that intersection. They asked for $4 million. They got 250,000. So not nearly enough to put a, to get anywhere near getting that intersection, that signaled intersection built at 35th. So I saw that, and I turned around and I suggested, hey, why don't we go and put in another congressionally directed spending request, including 35th, more of the implementation of that 35th signal interchange intersection, and also doing some planning for Helmholtz, which is, as we all know, also a very dangerous place along 126. It used to be that Helmholtz was more dangerous than 35th, and it's just kind of with the growth and with the anticipated opening of the park and rec district facility, that 35th is going to become a lot more dangerous. So I think it would be great to plan for those two things in tandem, and instead of do 35th and then think about Helmholtz later. So my suggestion, most recent suggestion with, and Chris Doty has been helping me kind of float this with ODOT and the city of Redmond, is for us to support a congressionally directed spending allocation request for that package of 35th and Helmholtz and 126.
And
And
just
you
to
have-
add to that, Nick and I have been communicating with Chris about that this morning, and we have added it to the agenda to talk about tomorrow during the legislative update meeting. So Chris is not online right now to add to that, but he is queued up to talk further about the efforts there and potential discussion and consideration of that CDS for tomorrow's meeting.
Excellent.
Thank
That's
you.
perfect
Yeah.
placement. Thank you.
I didn't really need to bring it up today then. Sorry. I didn't know that it was that we had gotten there.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a thought. In terms of congressionally directed spending requests, they're due. The applications are due in a couple of weeks. Congressman Bentz doesn't do CDS requests, so if we're trying to look for something that would have bicameral support, both the House and the Senate side, we kind of need to look within Congresswoman Bynum's zone.
Oh, didn't she get us the 250,000?
Yes. Yeah. And so part of the idea here is that we can go back to the Senate side and ask, make the request again, and hopefully if on the Senate side they're excited about this CDS request, then we can keep pursuing it through the House, and we can also look at it at the Senate level.
Good.
That's all I had. Jen, you want to come on up?
Got yours ready?
Yes. You're so close.
Thank you.
Okay, Jen Patterson, Strategic Initiatives Manager. So there's 3 letters for consideration. The first 2 come in a packet. We received the request. I've received it through Commissioner DeBonne from Redmond Fire and Rescue. They're looking to put in, they're calling it community initiated project appropriations, same thing as CDS that we've just been discussing, the congressionally directed spending request. As I think Commissioner Chang mentioned, the deadline is February 25th. It just opened on February 4th. So along with any CDSs that are put in, they do need letters of recommendations from community partners at public agencies. So Redmond Fire and Rescue are looking for 2 letters of support. They're having 2 requests, and they were advised by Senator Merkley and Senator Wyden's office to do 2 separate requests. One of them is for a 75-foot ladder truck, and one of them is for a vehicle exhaust capture systems. Each request, they don't have the exact financial numbers on what those requests are. They have them out for bid right now. They'll have that back before February 25th to include in there. But approximately the ladder truck is going to run somewhere between $2.2 and $2.5 million. And the vehicle exhaust system is going to be about $473,000. And I could potentially answer any questions, but the most information I have that I know about this is in the packet, and Commissioner DeBonne.
Yeah, this is just an email they're asking for us to sign on a piece of paper that says that we've heard about it and we support it to be put in the pool of asks. So we're in that same spot where we just talked about one. We've got other ones coming in. I think we've generally kind of leaned into allowing these things to proceed with our support generally in the past. So, and we could talk about it tomorrow morning too, if we want.
I'm comfortable moving this letter forward right now. I would love to, and this is more information that you've got at your fingertips right now, but it would be I would love to kind of go back and look at the various CDS requests from fire districts for engines and ambulances and gear, the various kinds of equipment, and just get a sense of how successful they've been. I think some of them have been successful.
I know the requests. I don't know the success rate. I don't get notified of that. So I would have to reach out to them. I know we had several last time. I can look it up real quick. What ones we had last time.
Yeah, it's very interesting. This just seems like it's a type of CDS request that our local districts seem to, think are worth pursuing. So that would make me believe that they've had some success. Otherwise, I think that the enthusiasm would actually die down. But at some point, it would be great to look at a kind of comprehensive list of, over the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years, what's been, these kinds of requests, what's been requested, were they successful?
It's probably the easiest way to do that, I would imagine, is actually going to the source, going to the senators and the representatives, the congressperson's office. Sorry, I have something in my eye.
Yeah.
But going to the source and asking them the request, because I think that there's also other requests that probably don't come through the commissioner. So it's not something that I track or get notified of when they come through.
Right. Thank you.
So yeah, if there's no discussion, I mean, these are the ladder truck. It's a 100-foot truck. They have a 75-foot truck now, and then the other one truly is a exhaust management system for inside their building, just to reduce that variable of inside air quality for a firefighting team that may end up going out into the middle of a smoke-filled fire, not having to come back when having the carcinogens floating around.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll move approval of board signature of both of these letters in support of these requests for the Redmond Fire and Rescue.
Sure. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further
You
discussion?
guys want to start circulating for the signature just to save a little time?
I've already written on
We'll
mine.
vote first.
I have a clean copy if anyone needs clean copies.
I have.
Okay, great.
Mr. Brown
and
is signing his right now.
The last one in your
Wait,
packet.
Wait.
Didn't
So
vote.
We didn't vote yet. It's been
Okay.
moved and seconded. Further discussion? Okay. Calling for the vote.
Yes.
Commissioner Bone, yes. Commissioner Dare
Yes.
and chair votes yes.
All right, jumped ahead there. The last letter in the packet is the letter that was discussed last week. This is the Make US 97 Safer, Our Lives Depend on It. You, the three of you did make a motion and voted to approve this letter. We added, we made it those two minor changes and it's been distributed to the other counties. Apologize, I could not figure out the graphic getting that road down there. So
Down
I
the
just-
side, down the left.
I took the easy way out. I tried, but my skills were limited. So to move forward, I've been in conversations with Jefferson County and Klamath County. Jefferson County commissioners are meeting today and they're going to discuss the letter and hopefully get signatures. And Klamath County commissioners are meeting tomorrow and also going to discuss the letter and get signatures. They all have the final copy letter on hand. So the easiest way to obtain signatures from all 9 commissioners is to just take each section block and then I'll cut and paste it in. So if we can get one clean copy of a signature from the 3 of you today, I don't think we need a motion since it's already been passed by all 3 of you. But I thought while we were doing letters, I'd give you the update and try to obtain those signatures.
Yeah, so I had the draft of that without signatures in my hand with the governor on Monday, but I didn't hand it out because there was no signatures on it. But Kelly Minty was there also, and she led with this topic, and I just showed support for the same concept.
So, could you give me a letter with the changes in red, just so I can?
The literally the only changes were moving the what is now that first paragraph under the after the intro that
For legislative action.
yes, that was last. It is now first, and then adding adding the commissioner signatures and the logos. So no content was changed in the letter.
Sure.
Okay. Would you still like an edited version of that?
No, that's fine.
Okay, great. I'll come collect those signed letters, and I think I'm.
Jen, if there's any way in the final to, like that Klamath County logo, just that
top.
little points got trimmed off. If there's any way to
I can
stick
do
that back
very
on,
easily. Yes.
that'd be great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I bet somebody in our organization could figure out how to put logos on the left side.
They're the ones who did.
And I wouldn't want to try. I used to know how to use Office, but I don't know anymore. They changed the menu so much.
Too bad that we don't have the
Exactly.
numbers of state police because the numbers are so indicative of how bad it is. And, you know, you can say that they're less, but when you actually see the number in black and white, anyhow, it's, yeah.
Is this from?
No, that's for, out front.
Thanks. Jen.
Hmm.
Okay. There are no other items. We can move to our executive session for the day.
The Deschutes County Board of Commissioners will now convene an executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660. The specific authorization for this executive session is ORS 192.660, Section 2E, which allows the board to meet in order to discuss real property negotiations. Designated staff and the media are allowed to remain during the executive session. However, the media may only report that the board met in executive session and the identified basis for meeting in executive session. Recording devices are not permitted. No final decisions will be made, and at the conclusion, we will open the doors and invite the audience back to the meeting.
coming out of executive session. Staff, please proceed as discussed. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.
Sorry, meeting adjourned.
Just making sure.